Hey everyone, how are y'all? Dreamcatcher, how are you? Vapor and Betty Joe, how are y'all? Vapor, I'm tired. I'm wore out. I'm not gonna lie. I'm literally exhausted. It's been a very tiring week. Avery, how are you? Hey Musical, how are you? I have ordered stuff off of Amazon and it has said before that it would be like several weeks out and then the delivery date usually updates. So, Jack, how are you? So maybe it won't take 400 weeks to get here. No, it won't. Hold on, I gotta send a message. Give me just 1 second, y'all. Before, hey Tiff, how are you? Cat's meow, how are you? Is Betty Joe still in here? Hold on, y'all. I'm just sending a message out to my mods real quick. Okay. Okay. Give me a second. Let me reply to something on here. Real quick. All right, Avery, did you check your DM? Justice Jane, how are you? And thank you, Justice Jane, for hitting the thumbs up. So, yes, if y'all have not hit the thumbs up, go do so and make sure to put your chat on live chat. Elsie, how are you tonight? Okay, Avery, I seen where you just answered me back. Okay. Yeah, I still haven't got to watch the Leilani Simon sentencing, but I did hear that it was crazy. I just don't like this. Well, I'm glad that she got life. I will say that. I don't like the part of the possibility uh, of parole, even though it'll be 30 years before she'll be eligible for parole. I still don't like that part. I don't think she should have gotten it. I mean, she took this baby's life and then threw him in a dumpster. Elsie, I am tired, but I'm doing good. I feel good. I'm still not, back to how I was feeling before. I'm just tired because I've had to take care of my aunt. And y'all, I do apologize. I was supposed to be back Tuesday night, but the procedure that she had didn't go as planned. And so I had to end up staying a couple of nights with her and basically just taking care of her around the clock. Princess Lena, how are you? Princess Lena, I'm about to send you a message real quick in Discord that I'm going to need you to check. Like, held responsible for allowing this baby to stay with like a Leilani. She goes and she gets custody of him, but then leaves him with her. And then look what happened. Too fast, how are you? Sunset Gazing, how are you? Let me get a notification. Great to catch you live. Sunset, it is good to see you. Okay, Princess Lena, when you get a chance, check your DM on Discord. King Scarlet, how are you? All right, King Scarlet, when you get a chance, check your DM in Discord, please. Are we gonna hate watch the sentencing? Um, how long was the sentencing today? Because I would like to watch it if y'all want to watch it. I do have a couple of other things that I need to go over tonight, but I might can speed it up some. Avery's like, yes, let's watch it. Okay, thank you, King Scarlet. Okay, you're gone because their family all had to get up. And, oh, they had to get up and lie. I did hear that. I forgot who it was. They were talking about it in Discord earlier when it was like all happening, the crazy that was going on. But it was, I guess, some people in her family. It's worth it in your time. I mean, we can do it tonight if y'all want to. I just need to go over these other two real quick, especially this Hannah Kobayashi. She's missing, went missing from LAX airport. I wanted to throw my phone into TV. Yeah, it would be a trip to watch a trial or even a sentencing with Betty Joe. All right, well, so we're gonna watch that. Matter of fact, I need to go find it real quick. Dreamcatcher, are you feeling any better? She should have been sentenced to hard labor in a garbage dump. I agree. Okay, well, wait a minute. Avery, is this you up here? I'm trying to come up on panel. Well, as of right now, Hannah has still not been found. And Avery, if that's you, it is saying that your device. Okay, wait. Here it goes.
I
Okay.
beat Betty Joe.
Well, it was saying to begin with that your devices wasn't connected. Dreamcatcher, thank you so much for becoming a member. And of course, you've been with the family like forever. So. But thank you for the membership.
I beat her. I beat Betty Joe. You look, my thumbs went so fast.
You were like just waiting for me to throw the link out.
Oh, so you have to watch it. You are not going to believe how skinny Billy Joe is.
I let
I wait. What is that, Betty Joe?
I said I let her beat me.
Oh, please.
Yes, I did. I watched you go up there.
You turd. You did not let me.
Yes,
Hey Courtney, how are you? I didn't, like I said, I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I did see there. I was looking through some articles about the sentencing because I was trying to find out if she's serving the time consecutively or concurrently. Um,
Consecutive.
okay. Well, wait. Somebody told me concurrently.
So the life is would put her eligible for parole at 65, but then she got another 10
10
years
years, right?
for concealing the body, and then that's consecutive. So
So
she's
she
going to
would
be
have to.
75.
Yeah, she would have to serve that. If it's consecutively, then she's going to have to serve the sentence, then start on her
Mm-hmm.
life sentence before she's. So it'll be 40 years in if it's consecutively before she'll be eligible for parole.
I think they said at 35 years she'll be eligible for parole.
So at 35, okay. Because
I think
when I was looking it up, if so in the state of Georgia, since the offenses were committed after July 1st of 2006, a life sentence is eligible for parole after 30 years. So that's what I was trying to figure out if it was she was having to serve them consecutively or concurrently. Because I
Well,
still
they said she'll be 65. Yeah, that's right. They said she'll be 65 before she's eligible for parole. So
okay.
so yeah, so it would be that would be the 30 years plus the 10 years. That
Okay,
would
and
put her at
she's
six.
yeah, but they said about 35 years she could come up eligible for parole.
okay. And Tiff said you don't get parole unless you admit what you've done wrong.
Yeah, and she ain't never going to admit it, so she'll be
Oh
in the rest
no,
of her life.
she's yeah.
And her mother,
I
oh,
I can't get over how skinny her mom is. Like
okay.
it was.
Avery, you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, hold on.
it's them. You know what that she's doing,
My better.
Yes.
and to
Okay.
sit there and cry and say, "I love
Uh,
you, Leilani."
oh, please.
Her
I swear, I'm
her
telling you,
mom
I want to throw my phone at the TV.
her mom is so skinny that it's scary looking.
I
It is
saw
scary.
there was a video in one of the articles that I was reading that had part of a video of it, and when I clicked on, it was like a 10-second video of it. Hey, Mountain Mama, how are you? Um, and like whenever this, I guess the judge or whoever was talking to her, Billy Joe was like standing up in the back,
Yeah,
and she is, yeah,
You could see all the bones in her face. That's
yeah,
how skinny she is.
she's very skinny.
yeah. You want to know why?
Yeah.
Think about it.
I'm I mean,
I'm pretty sure
I
we
have
know why.
yeah, I have my ideas,
Yeah. Well,
but
stick with the ideas.
yeah. I mean, she looks like should be on her deathbed. That's bad.
The
It's
prison,
bad.
her daughter.
Okay, so let's see.
Yep.
It was like 2 hours long today.
And then um and then Leilani said that she wanted Quentin's remains released to her brother, not her mother.
Why would she
Why
have
would
any say?
I didn't understand why she had any say. I guess
Right.
because of the appeal or something, um, about preserving him for the appeal for testing. But I don't understand why she had any say over who they
she
went to.
she doesn't?
But
No.
she chose her brother and not her mom, which I found very weird.
The whole
They can
thing
say
is
she can
weird.
say who she wants, but I don't think anybody in that family is going to get his remains.
You don't think?
Nope, I do not think any of them.
Oh, I
Okay.
do. I think that they'll go to her brother
I doubt it.
because
Um.
I think it will go to the father.
the dad didn't ask for him. He wasn't even there in court.
Well, I wouldn't be there either.
Mountain Mama, thank you so much for becoming a member. And of course, you two have
I
been here
mean,
with us forever.
the thing is, we don't know if he was at court. It never showed if he was. Never said if he was. He could
The
have been.
news said he wasn't.
Well, I mean, that's his
So
story.
wait, are we talking about Leilani's dad or are we talking about Quentin's
No,
dad?
Quentin's.
Quentin's
Quentin's
dad.
dad. Okay. Hey, Loaded Hot.
What's
I
his
think.
name? Bubba?
Yeah, I think he'll get the remains because
Okay,
when
so
it first
look,
happened, he said he wanted his
excuse
son.
me. I'm, I don't. This case, y'all, is just
It is. It's messed
it,
up
it's
because
messed up. It's sad. I don't
quite a
know.
few quite a few should be in jail right now.
Oh yeah,
Not just her.
right. Well,
There's quite a few.
Loaded Hot said that the FBI wants to keep him for further evidence, and the dad has the rights to the remains.
Yep.
Which I agree. I don't think that he should go back to anybody in Leilani's family. Don't really know or remember a whole lot about the dad and what his story was, but if he's just as bad as they are, then
No,
shouldn't. I don't think we
yeah,
should get him
but
either. But
I
I
don't
mean,
think
he's
he
entitled
was.
to him over her brother.
I don't think he was. I don't think she allowed him to be in Quentin's life.
Okay, yeah, that's.
Well, you'll hear it because they go over, why Leilani is giving up his remains, because they talk about it all, because if she's appealing, then they would want to have his remains for evidence and different things, but she's giving up that right. She says, her son's been through enough. She wants to let him have peace, and so it was her decision.
Well, it was her decision to give up her rights. That doesn't mean that she's going to get his remains. And
Oh no, yeah, no, I know that, but
it doesn't mean they were going to keep his remains for an appeal because they already got the evidence.
Yeah, so was he cremated? Because I've seen where somewhere it said that she wanted his ashes to go to her brother.
I'm pretty sure they said he was cremated, but I'm not really.
Okay.
no, he wasn't cremated, because that's what her attorney was saying, that Leilani understands that by giving up his remains, that there could be no further testing done on him for her appeal.
But see, I don't get that part because they've done all the testing they can do. They got all the evidence they could get. So
Well,
I don't understand the part of keeping his remains.
Right.
Let that
Okay.
baby rest in peace. She's done enough to him.
Exactly. It's her and Billy Joe's fault. The reason why he's
Yeah,
no longer here.
yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to get everything situated here so I
I'm
can get it
sorry,
pulled
but
up.
that grandmother should be sitting right next to her daughter.
That's what I'm saying. What was the point of her getting custody of the baby if she's just going to leave it with the mom that she took custody away from?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Did you not think your child would do something to hurt these kids?
exactly.
Who
And
said?
Loaded Hot said no. The FBI wants them in case new technology comes out. It comes out to help them find a cause of death.
Well,
oh,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, Tiff says the same thing. For better testing in the future, she damn sure doesn't want better testing.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
And then they did say something about, part of his body is still out in that landfill.
Oh, that is
Oh,
sad.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
that about broke my heart. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
I'm
God.
sure it is. I mean, look what she's done to him.
Yeah, because when I heard the part, I think it was the medical examiner said that received when she received his remains, they came in, what was it, like 3 or 4 paper bags.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just, oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh, thinking of that, the not trying to jump over to another case here, and I'm gonna post it for y'all, but the full report on Veronica Butler is out.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Can you send it to me on Discord? Because if I try to get it out of your chat, I'm gone.
Yeah, I'll put it on Discord and then I'll post it in here too. I just will say this: read with caution.
Oh,
Yeah, it's which
oh,
it's. I mean, it's basically like Jillian's was, but it's a little bit worse than what
oh
Jillian's was.
gosh.
But I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Mountain Mama, I don't understand. And Mountain Mama says this case made me actually nauseated. The poor baby. I don't see how she got possibility of parole. She took this baby's life, drove to the dump, and threw him away like trash.
Mm-hmm.
How did
Yeah.
she get the possibility of parole?
I think it's because of everybody getting up on that stand and giving a sob story about Leilani went through this and she's been.
So what? I don't mean that she still knew right from wrong.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree with you.
It. I mean,
If it was me, I gave her the death penalty. So
right.
Well, like, look at Susan Smith. She was given the possibility of parole, but she keeps
not.
getting turned down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was somebody else I was going to look up today. I had her name wrote down
yeah.
to look her up because
And
I
then
knew that she was up for parole and that the boy's dad was there and all that.
Yeah.
and
So
in 2 years she'll be back up for parole.
I
And
highly doubt Leilani is ever going to get actually paroled.
no, I don't.
I don't. I just don't see that happening.
I think you ought to think twice before you hurt your kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Loaded hot. Are you talking about Leilani? How many years does she have to serve before she gets to go before the parole board? If you're talking about Leilani, it's which I'll say 30, 35 years.
That they said the most would be 35 years.
Okay. And that's just because the crime that she committed or the crimes that she committed was done
Correct.
after July the 1st of 2006. So in the state of Georgia, if you get life with the possibility of parole, then you have to wait 30 years before you're eligible for parole.
Right.
But she has the life sentence and the 10 years added to it. So, okay. All right. So we're going to watch this. Is there any point in this, and I'm probably going to get upset through the whole thing, but is there like any certain point that I need to be listening for?
Um,
That y'all can think of? Like just something that kind of like stuck out to y'all? Because I just think the whole thing is, I'm glad she got life, but I think the rest of it's bullshit, honestly.
What really stuck out to me is her mother. That's when I
Okay.
want to throw my phone at the TV.
I was very surprised at the impact statement, how they were all suggesting that Leilani should get, the
Get help.
possibility of parole, how they all loved her, how
It
you'll
was
just have to hear it.
it was disgusting.
It really was, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to start. All right. Well, I'm going to start playing it. I had to go all the way through. So they
All right,
first
I'm gonna.
started. Okay. Yeah. Once I get it started, y'all let me know if y'all can't hear it. And then, but I'm going to go ahead and mute also.
Okay.
You please bring out Miss Simon. All right. We are here today for the sentencing hearing of Leilani Simon. This is SPC R22-03364J6, the state of Georgia versus Leilani Marie Simon. Let the record reflect that counsel for both parties are present for the state, are Assistant U.S. Attorney Tim Dean, Assistant District Attorney Jenny Parker, and Detective Lemons. For the defense, present for Ms. Simon are her attorneys, Martin Hilliard and Robert Purse. Ms. Simon is seated with her attorneys. And with that, we'll turn our attention to the matter at hand. Are there any merger issues? And I believe we have relatively easy merger issues to proceed with. The felony murder counts would be vacated by operation of law, and the others will be handled with the pronouncement of sentence. So, Mr. Dean, turning to the state first, is there any evidence in aggravation?
There are, I think, some merger issues with respect to some of the false statements.
Let's go back to that.
I emailed the court and the defense about this morning. My belief is that some of the false statements count should merge with others. That count 10 should merge factually with 9. That count 14 should merge factually with count 13. And that 17 should merge factually with 16.
Is that okay?
So I may not exactly be right, but out of an abundance of caution, I would request that the court merge those 3 counts with the ones that precede them.
Okay. And once again, to make sure I have those correct, you're suggesting that count 10 merge into 9, and then what was the next?
That count 14 merge factually into count 13, and that count 17 merge factually into count 16.
All right, thank you. Any others? All right.
Your Honor, just for the record, I concur with the court. Count 2 and 3 should be vacated as an operation of law. And I also concur with Mr. Dean. I think factually those counts would merge, and those would be the ones that I would move for merger on as well. So we don't have any objection proceeding in that manner. So.
All right, thank you. Okay. Any evidence in aggravation of punishment, Mr. Dean?
Yes, Your Honor. The first item in aggravation that I would introduce is what I marked as State's Exhibit 1. This is a certified copy of conviction from Burke County Superior Court in which the defendant was convicted of criminal trespass reduced from burglary in the first degree. So I would offer that at this time.
Okay.
I don't think it triggers any recidivist punishment, Judge, and it's an appropriate copy, but no objection, but I don't think it does anything to trigger 17-10-7.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. Dean, any other evidence you wish to put forward?
Your Honor, at this time, I'm called to take comments.
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. You understand that one of the most important factors the court considers in fashioning a sentence is whether and to what degree the defendant has accepted responsibility, right?
Yes.
I'd like to ask you some questions kind of designed to get at that, okay? First, I want to ask you about the various sources of information you've had access to during the investigation and then after the defendant was arrested that represent kind of sources of statements that she made, things that she said about the case, okay?
Okay.
Let's start with interviews. You interviewed her a number of times, right?
Yes, I did.
And there were some other law enforcement interviews that you didn't participate in, but did watch.
Correct, yes.
You've talked to witnesses who have talked to her.
Yes.
For instance, Melanie Bowling, Billy Joe Howell, the defendant's mother.
Yes.
You have seen the news interview that she did during the investigation.
Yes, I have.
And have you also monitored her communications from the jail during the time that she spent there between her arrest and the trial?
I have.
Listened to many of her phone calls from the jail,
Yes.
read emails that she sent from the jail,
Yes.
and read letters that she exchanged with a pen pal, right?
Yes,
You've also watched some video recorded, like video visits that they can do,
yes,
sort of like a FaceTime type thing.
yes,
Okay. So you've seen her talk a lot.
I have.
You've heard her talk a lot.
Yes.
Those various statements have included some stories about that night, right? About what happened or what might happen.
Yes, they have.
Let's talk about the abduction story. Tell us about the abduction story or stories.
Yeah, so that initially started on October 5th. That was the initial story that she came up with was Quentin was abducted by Bubba.
And was there a version of the abduction story at some point that involved not Bubba as the alleged kidnapper, but strangers, unknown strangers?
Yes, on that first day after we had confirmation from the FBI office in Augusta that Bubba was most likely not going to be involved, she started mentioning, random vehicles that had followed her throughout the night or had stopped in front of her house, just trying to cast suspicion on those.
What about Michelle McCarta, Quentin and his siblings' babysitter? Did she ever feature in any version of the abduction story offered by the defendant?
Yes, there's a few times where she tried to say that possibly Michelle McCarta was involved.
So as to the abduction story, it's taken various forms. Bubba took him, maybe a stranger took him, maybe Michelle took him, right?
Correct.
There's also a story, or maybe multiple versions of variants on the same story.
Started shortly after Daniel left. That was brought up in a text message to Savannah Solomon on October 24th and during our interview on the 31st of October. It's also been mentioned a number of times in our jail calls, just various versions of that story.
It has included the claim that Danny was actually the one in the dumpsters at 1:20 or so in the morning on October 5th, right?
Yeah, that was the story from October 31st. Is it wasn't her at the dumpster, it was actually Daniel.
There's also been a different version from her in which she suggests that, actually, no, he threw him in some other trash receptacle on his way to work after the sun had come up. Right?
Yes.
So as to Danny, two different versions of the Danny did it story, right?
Yes, it is.
At some point, did she try out something that I'll call the bathtub theory on you?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So in an interview on November 21st, she did mention that possibly something happened to Quentin in the bathtub. That one was shortly, discarded as an untrue, theory, based on the fact that Paul got home after the bathtub. All sorts of other parties can confirm Quentin was still alive after he took a bath.
All right, so I'd like to ask you a couple questions about all these different stories, things she said, things she didn't say. First of all, as we talked about, some of these stories involve her kind of casually accusing other people or implicating other people, right?
They do, yes.
Did you ever hear from her any reluctance, apprehension, or hesitance about throwing these other innocent people's names out there as potentially being responsible?
No.
Now, remember in the news interview and I think in the October 12th interview with Special Agent Snyder and Special Agent Solomon, she said some things about being willing to take responsibility if it came to light that she was the one who had done this, right?
She said that, yes.
In all of these statements of hers that you've listened to, the interviews, things witnesses have told you she said, jail communications and so forth, at any point, has she ever actually accepted responsibility for what she's now been convicted of?
No, she hasn't.
Now, she sometime relatively recently wrote a letter to a local news station, right?
Yes, she did.
Do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 2?
Yes, I do.
Is that a copy of that letter?
It is.
Where did that letter come from?
It is from the WTOC website, and it's signed by Leilani Simon at the bottom.
And WTOC website is they're a respected news organization, and they're posting it saying, this is a letter she sent to us.
Yes.
You want to offer this in evidence as States Exhibit 2?
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
States Exhibit 2 is admitted.
What's the date of this letter?
September 2nd, 2024.
So a little more than a month before trial, maybe 5 weeks before trial.
Yes.
Now that this has been admitted into evidence, could you just read it for us?
Sure. WTOC, there is no factual evidence against me, none. as in no concrete, without a doubt evidence. All the state has is speculation based on circumstantial evidence, nothing, however, based in fact with undeniable proof/evidence. This is what the state doesn't have. No DNA evidence, no forensic evidence, no eyewitnesses, no murder weapon, no camera/video evidence, no time of death to prove I was at home during tragedy, no cause of death, no proof of any previous abuse to Quentin or other children. I understand if you're skeptical of what I just wrote, but I assure it's the truth, it's fact. I implore you to do your own investigation into my claims to confirm. The public deserves to know some of the facts of this case, and not only speculation based on they, in quotations, the state, are attempting to railroad me instead of admitting they have accused the wrong person for for the past almost 2 years. Leilani Simon.
Thank you. Now, is it fair to say that in that letter, she's kind of holding herself out as like a detached commentator upon the state of the evidence and not like, the person who was there and threw him in the dumpster and knows exactly what happened?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Now, I'd like to ask you some questions about her behavior during the investigation. A lot of her behavior in the investigation was charged in the indictment in the form of false statements. I want to ask you about a couple of things that did not come into evidence at trial. Okay. The first is something that occurred on October 5th, right? That's day one.
Yes.
That is when the defendant, Paul, and were at the Chatham County Police Department for a fairly long period of time for a series of interviews, right?
Yes.
Was there, and that was at a time very early on where she's representing the police, that Quentin has been abducted and she doesn't know whether he's safe or not, dead or alive, right?
Yes.
Was there a point where she was captured on camera asking Paul whether he had any weed to smoke when they left there?
Yes, there was.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So after everyone's individual interviews were concluded, my team was trying to arrange transport to get them back home. We had all three of them in the interview room together. During that time, Leilani asked Paul if he has marijuana at the house.
Now, moving forward from that, another incident that wasn't introduced in evidence at trial, the Stingrays incident. Okay. That was on October 18th, right?
Yes, it was.
And that is the day that the Chatham County Police Department announced that they believed Quentin to be dead, to be located in a landfill, right?
Yes, it was.
Can you tell us about the Stingrays incident? First of all, let me ask you this. Have you reviewed video footage from Stingrays depicting the defendant and her activities there?
Yes.
And did you interview or talk to her waiter that day, a young man by the name of Zach?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Just give us the broad contours of what happened at Stingrays based on that review.
Yeah. So like you said, November 18th is when our social media liaison announced to the public that we were looking for Quentin in the landfill.
November 18th.
October 18th. Okay. Yeah, excuse me. And on that day, my team received notice that Leilani and her family had gone out to Stingrays, which is a bar restaurant on Tybee, and that they were out there partying. I interviewed Zach Anderson, who was their waiter at the time, and he told us about her behavior out there, how she was flirtatious. Everyone was drinking, cheersing, and seeming to have a very good time.
And he said that she consumed numerous alcoholic beverages, right?
Yes.
That she became noticeably, I guess if not drunk, at least tipsy or something along those lines.
Yes.
And that she was behaving in a flirtatious manner towards him.
Yes.
In her November 21 interview, the final interview on the day of her arrest, you brought up the Stingrays incident, right?
Yes, I did.
And that was in the context of explaining to her that from your perspective, she had not behaved in a way that comported with what she was saying happened, that she was a victim of an abduction, right?
Yes.
And did she tell you a lie in that interview about what had happened at Stingrays?
Yes, she did.
And what was that?
That she was not consuming alcohol that night.
Okay. Is it fair to say that we did not charge all of the lies that she told you as false statements in this indictment?
We did not.
I'd like to ask you about one more aspect of the defendant's behavior during the investigation, okay? At some point during the investigation, she entered some kind of drug and substance abuse rehabilitation program, right?
Yes,
And this was an inpatient deal
it was.
where you lived there.
Yes.
Okay. And was she kicked out at some point?
That's what we were told. Yes.
And when was she kicked out?
November 21st.
That's the day of the final interview and her arrest?
Yes, it is.
Why was she kicked out of rehab?
We were told it was fraternization with the other people in rehab.
Specifically male
Yes.
patients at the facility?
Yes.
Now, I'd like to ask you a little bit about her behavior during her pretrial incarceration, like after she's arrested but before trial, okay?
Okay.
She was housed the entire time at the Chatham County Detention Center, correct?
Yes.
While there, is it fair to say she's had interactions with a number of men who are not incarcerated at that facility,
Yes, she has.
both over the phone and electronically otherwise,
Yes.
messages and so forth?
Yes.
Okay. Has she maintained a long-running pen pal relationship with a child molester incarcerated in the state of Wisconsin?
Yes, she has.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm not sure the exact start date. It was well over a year ago when they began communicating, and they regularly send letters to each other. They refer to each other as husband and wife.
And more recently, has she begun having like video visits, remote video visits with a convicted felon from the Boston area, a man?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
That's one of the more recent ones. He's an individual that reached out to her saying that he wanted to be friends with her and gives her money on her books, and they have started video visitation.
And separate and apart from her interactions with those two men, has she also been accepting money put onto her books from other men around the country or even around the world, perhaps?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
There's been a few throughout the last 2 years. The most recent one, the one that she began video chatting, that's one that's saying he's going to regularly put money on her books.
So based on the on your review of the letters, the video visits, maybe phone calls as well, does she seem to be enjoying and encouraging the male attention that she's received since being arrested?
Yes, she does.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions now about her behavior during trial. Okay, we've touched on her behavior during the investigation and her behavior during pretrial incarceration, but let's talk about the trial. Okay.
Okay.
Do you remember an incident during the trial where I brought up the fact that to my eye, she could be seen visibly mouthing during Talia McCarty's testimony, either something along the lines of, "That's a fucking lie," or "She's a fucking liar," or something like that?
Yes.
Have you gone back and reviewed some of the broadcasted footage of this trial?
Yes, I have.
And have you located that incident in the footage available online?
Yes.
And has it been clipped into like 1.5 minute clip and placed on a disc?
Yes, it has.
Is that what's contained on the disc in front of you, marked States Exhibit 3?
Yes, it is.
And can you tell us, well, at this time you're not offer that into evidence as States Exhibit 3?
I don't care, Judge. No objection.
Okay, Exhibit 3, is it what?
Now, Your Honor, I had intended to publish that, but there are people and equipment over here where I would set up my computer, so I'm not going to do that. But it will be in evidence for the court to review should the court see fit to do that. Without the ability to readily play it here, can I just ask you to describe what is depicted in that clip?
Sure. You can hear Talia in the background talking about Leilani's referencing Bubba and Quentin and how Quentin looks like Bubba. And then during that, it shows Leilani's face during the trial, and she's saying, "That's a fucking lie." And
Did she appear to you to be talking to her lawyer when she said that?
No.
Now, did you keep an eye on the defendant throughout the trial to one degree or another?
Yes.
And did you have the opportunity to observe when, if at all, she displayed any visible emotion versus when she did not?
Yes.
What is your sense of the point in the trial where she displayed the most clear, visible emotion? I mean, aside from what we just talked about, but I guess emotion of sadness or being upset.
I would say the verdict would be where she was more visually upset.
What about when Quentin's dismembered foot or pieces of his skull were up on the screen in front of her and she was looking right at him?
She didn't appear to be upset.
Now, I'd like to ask you a couple questions about, about the money associated with the landfill search, okay? It's not really what this case is all about, but I do want to just put a couple things on the record about this. Have you reviewed some emails and talked to some people to get a sense for how much money the landfill search effort cost the Chatham County Police Department and the FBI, and therefore, the taxpayers?
Yes.
That includes, those expenses include things like travel and lodging for some of the FBI agents who came in from out of town to participate, right?
Yes.
Equipment, boots, Tyvek suits, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, it does.
Heavy equipment rentals,
Yes.
excavators, and things like that.
Yes.
And is it fair to say that also overtime pay, right? There's a lot of overtime pay for people.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that the cost of the landfill search appears to far exceed, I'll say, $500,000?
Yes, it does.
Now, I'd like to ask you a couple questions about the impact of Quentin's murder on the community. Okay. As the lead detective for the Chatham County Police Department, have you had the opportunity to get a sense for the community impact of this case?
I would say so, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I know my office, as well as the district attorney's office, has received phone calls from people thanking them and us for finding justice and finding his body. I've had several people reach out to me to say how much it means that we were able to find him, really more than anything.
People in the community took an interest in this case, right?
Yes, they did.
And a lot of people seem to have come to care about Quentin that never even met him. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it is.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about the effect, the impact on some of the police officers involved in this case, okay? And we don't need to go into this in great detail, but is it accurate to say that a number of police officers sought out counseling services after either having been involved in the initial response to the house or having been involved in the landfill search, or both?
Yes, it's accurate.
And do you know some of those people?
Yes, I do.
One of the people in the community who was affected by this this case was Donald Johnson, right?
Yes.
And can you remind us who Donald is and what his role in the investigation and in the trial was?
Yeah, he was our point of contact for the landfill off of Little Neck. He was there with us every step of the way until we found Quentin.
Has this whole thing had an effect on Donald?
Him and his coworkers, yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Donald and I have had several conversations about what it's like for them to still work out there, knowing that part of Quentin's remains are still in the landfill. He and his team have had a tough time still working there.
Now, have they, has he or have they done anything to memorialize Quentin's memory out of the landfill?
Yes, they have.
Can you tell us about what that is?
In one of the areas that we had set up for the landfill search, Donald and everyone at Waste Management set up a large memorial for Quentin. It has a headstone, flowers, and a photograph of him.
And who paid for that?
The landfill.
Do you see in front of you, I think it's 3 images that are marked as State's Exhibit 4?
Yes.
Are those pictures showing the memorial that you just talked about?
Yes, it does.
Could you hold those up and for the judge and just kind of walk through what we're looking at in these pictures?
So this is the plaque right here. It's a marble stone plaque, and they've done some landscaping around it. This is a better view of the plaque. It has a photograph of Quentin, and then they have a nice flower bed around it.
And then the last picture is just kind of a closer view.
Yes.
One moment, please. I have no further questions, John.
All right. Mr. Hilliard, Mr. Purse.
Detective Lemons, have you had multiple theories in this case when you first got it of what happened?
Yes.
Okay, were all of those theories true?
No.
Okay. So when you discarded the theories that weren't, did that make you a liar?
No, they were based off of evidence that we found.
Okay. So when you're throwing out a theory, doesn't necessarily make you a liar. That theory doesn't pan out, does it?
It does. No.
It does or it does not?
Restate your question, please.
If you're throwing out a theory and the theory doesn't pan out, it doesn't mean you were a liar when you threw out a theory, does it?
No.
Okay. Now, Mr. Dean asked you a bunch of questions Simon's been convicted of this charge, but let's go ahead and, since Mr. Dean asked the question, do you exactly know the manner or method in which Quentin Simon died?
No.
Do you know whether or not there was any DNA evidence that showed how he died or who the perpetrator was?
No.
Okay. So all these statements that Mr. Dean had you run through are factually correct, are they not?
They are.
Okay. So again, it's not a misstatement, was it?
No.
Okay. Now let's talk about the other evidence, the evidence that Mr. Dean just elicited too. I understand we're here, the verdict's been rendered, but does asking to smoke weed tell you how Quentin Simon died?
No.
Okay. Does getting drunk at Stingrays tell you how Quentin Simon died?
No.
Okay. Does having an electronic relationship with a child molester from Wisconsin tell you how Quentin Simon died?
No.
Okay. Does fraternizing with someone in drug treatment tell you how Quentin Simon died?
No.
Okay. Does a criminal trespass conviction tell you how Quentin Simon died?
No.
Okay. So disagreeing with what Talia McCarty said, saying she's a liar, does that tell you how Quentin Simon died?
No.
So I'm just curious, how do any of these things add to aggravation?
I think it shows her state of mind during it all and her lack of responsibility and disdain for her child.
Okay. And that's your opinion, correct?
It is.
And that's the opinion that has just been driving this case since October 5th of 2022, isn't it?
No.
All the questions.
Anything further?
Not for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, Detective, you may step down. Mr. Dean, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, I understand that Talia McCarty would like to address the court, so we would call her now.
Okay.
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. This is not like the trial in the sense that I don't have a bunch of questions prepared for you at this point, okay?
Yes, sir.
This is your opportunity to tell the judge what Quentin meant to you and how this has all impacted you, and I suppose your family more generally. So have you thought about what you would like to say to the judge about Quentin?
Quentin was like a little brother to me. Quentin meant a lot. Just seeing him smile every day, waking up next to him, he would stay at the house a lot. Missing him every day, not waking up to see Quentin, not being able to go get Quentin no more. It's a lot. My family loved him a lot. I miss him walking around the house with cheese in his hand saying bubbles. I miss him just lighting up the room. I miss looking at his little bow legs just run across the kitchen. So it's justice.
Let me ask you this. This is not something that we've talked about before, but it does occur to me to ask you the question. If Leilani had just come to you and your family and said, look, I can't handle all three of these children. Will you take this one? What do you think your mom would have said to that?
My mom would have took Quentin in a heartbeat. There would have been no hesitation. Quentin, it was like he was blood to us. It was a connection with Quentin. It was a connection with all the kids. But Quentin, my mom would have never said no or nothing. She would have just took him in a heartbeat. She could have.
One moment, please. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
You may step down. Well, just a moment. Ms.
I
Talia?
don't have any questions.
Okay. All right, Mr. Dean, you may call your next witness.
State restaurant.
Thank you. All right, turning to the defense, Mr. Hilliard, Mr. Purse.
I'd like to call Paul Simon, Judge.
Okay, is Mr. Simon present?
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
So help me God.
Have a seat, please.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Simon.
How are you doing today? Mr. Simon, you understand why we're here, correct? Yeah. And I've asked you to come forward and speak in mitigation about your sister Leilani. Okay. We're not here to argue with the verdict. The verdict's been rendered, but we are here to try and basically tell the court about Leilani. And so you've asked to speak. And is there anything you'd like to tell the court before the court imposes a sentence, Paul?
So growing up, Leilani is my closest sibling. Growing up, she was always there for me whenever I needed her. Whenever I needed advice about anything, didn't matter what it was, she would always give it to me to the best of her ability. So, I mean, I love her. She's my sister. You know, I love Quentin. That's my nephew. You know, I love him just like he was my own blood. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna sit here and live in the past when all I have is days ahead of me, and I'm gonna keep moving forward.
Okay. And with Leilani, whenever you lived in the house when this was going on, correct? How was she with the children at that point in time?
She was always pretty fair to them. I never saw her hit them. She would yell at them, but I mean, everybody gets frustrated. So,
right.
I never really saw her hit them. You know, when Quentin and Zane and Sky, when they were all outside, she was out there watching them, making sure that none of them got too close to the pool. At a certain point, Zane would finally put his feet into the pool without throwing a tantrum. You know, so I never saw no abuse, never saw no bruises, besides from like, you know, maybe Quentin running through the house and falling. I mean, can't help that. He was bow-legged. I mean, he can barely walk as he was.
You were close to Quentin, weren't you?
I was. He would come up to me and put his arms over my legs, and I just sit there and bounce him. 20, 30 minutes later, it's still going. You know, he'd wear me out. He'd beat me up.
Well, that being said, do you have an eye towards what you think the court should do with Leilani? I mean, the court's limited to either life with or without parole. And what are you here asking the court to do with Leilani's sentence?
In my opinion, she needs to spend time in prison, but at the same time, she's still extremely young. And regardless of how it looks, at the end of the day, she's still my sister. And I feel like even though she was convicted of what she was convicted of, she still deserves a chance, even if it's later in her life, to have an opportunity to live her life still.
And that's what you're asking for, correct? It's life with parole, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I just want to be clear, okay?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else you wanted to tell the court about your sister?
Just I love you, sister. I hope you make it through it.
And Mr. Dean might have some questions for you, Paul, okay?
No questions, Sharon.
All right, thank you. Mr. Simon, you may step down.
Let's see, Kimberly Hill, Judge.
Hill.
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's take your name, please, ma'am.
My name is Kimberly Hill.
Okay, and Ms. Hill, how do you know Ms. Leilani Simon?
Me and Leilani met when we were young, 15, 16. I was 15, she's 16.
Ms. Hill, I can tell you have a soft. I'm going to ask you to scoot up a little bit to the mic.
Is this better?
That is much better.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to speak up. They're recording everything we say and do.
I completely
All
understand.
right. So
We met when I was 15 and she was 16. We met through a mutual friend.
Mhm.
We were both very young, before kids. And she was so kind. I was very clueless and dumb at 15. I came from a very sheltered home, and she could have taken advantage of me very easily. But she didn't. Instead, she showed me everything. I mean, she showed me all around Savannah. She showed me how to act and how to talk in a setting that it was very awkward as a kid. She really helped me through all of that. And she was very kind to me. Like I said, she had the opportunity to take advantage of me, and she didn't. We were friends for a couple of years, and I was away for about 2 years, a year and a half or so we didn't really get to talk that much. And by the time I reconnected, she had her first baby, and we would hang out quite often. She was always concerned about him. Always, every time I saw her, whether it was the first child or after the second child, it was always, I'm going to be better. I'm going to do better. I'm doing better. I'm working towards something better. She always made an effort, and you could tell that she cared, even if she made the wrong decisions.
And you understand why we're here today, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what's your most recent interaction on this assignment?
About 6 months to a year prior to everything that had happened, I did distance myself just because I could tell we were going in different directions in life.
You can be honest. What did you mean by that?
She was hanging around the wrong crowd from what I presumed, and I was going to college. I was getting my degree. I was working in a very professional setting, and I just didn't have time to go all the way out. It was very far where I was living. I was in Savannah. I can't remember where it was, but it was about an hour and a half near Waynesboro. It was pretty far. So it was just very difficult to see her, and I also didn't want to get caught up in anything just in case. I wasn't aware of anything, but I didn't want to be aware of anything if there was.
And that was probably, if not correct, 2021, early
Yeah, like
2022?
late 2020, early 2021 is probably around the last time that we had hung out.
Okay. Have you reconnected with her since then, since this all transpired, or no?
No, sir.
So basically, your experience was as teenagers for the most part.
From 15 to 2021.
Okay. So for about 5 years.
Yes, sir.
Just trying to nail it down.
Of course.
And you understand what we're here for, but that's the person you remember, is that
Yes, sir.
kind, gentle soul.
Even though everything happened, it wouldn't be right for me to not come here and speak on what I experienced.
And that's all the questions I have. Is there anything further you'd like to add?
I hope you're doing okay.
And Mr. D might have some questions for you. Okay. Thank you. Just give me 1 second.
No questions.
All right, Ms. Hill, you may step down. Thank you.
Thomas Howell's next, right?
Mr. Howell?
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Afternoon, Judge.
State your name, please, sir.
Thomas Howell.
And Mr. Howell, how are you related to Ms.
I am Leilani's stepfather.
Okay. And how long have you been her stepfather?
Well, about going on 12 years.
So not like 2 years ago.
No,
or 3
sir.
years ago. So it's been a while.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you helped raise her, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're married to Billy Joe, just to be clear, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Danny and Leilani and Quentin and Zane and Sky were all living with y'all in October of 2022, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at that point in time, either you and Billy Joe were working or you were at home, right?
Yes, sir.
And just to be clear, how long would y'all be gone when you're out working?
Well, at that time, I was working in Anderson, South Carolina. And so some weekends I'd have to work weekends. So I just stayed there the whole week. The other weekends, when I did only work we work usually our standard hours is 4 10s. So I'd come home on the weekends and then go back Monday morning.
So it's normally like 4 on, 3
Yes,
off.
sir.
Okay. And that's what I was trying to get to. So you'd be gone for 4 days and back for 3 days.
Yes, sir. Monday through Thursday. I'd come back Thursday night.
Right. So, and you understand we're here for sentencing today,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
And you also understand the sentencing is limited. I mean, it's either going to be life with parole or life without parole,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
And I'm asking you to tell the court what you'd like to tell the court about Leilani in fashioning that sentence.
Well, Leilani was very smart. In school, she could pretty much take a test and not study for it and pass it. I mean, that's how smart she was. And like I say, when you're not on drugs, you're a totally different person. And Leilani just got into drugs, and it just, I guess maybe you could say, made it somebody different. And pretty much all I'm asking is that she had a chance one day to come out in the world and I understand, but nobody knows what happened to that young man. Nothing's been proven what happened to him. And I just would ask her one day she'd be able to walk amongst us. I mean, I probably won't be here. I mean, I'm up in age, but that she could at least be given one more chance in life instead of just putting her away and throwing away the key.
Anything further you want to add, Mr. Howell?
No, sir.
Mr. Dean, I ask some questions.
All right.
Okay.
Sir, I have no questions for you.
You ready?
You may step down, please.
Thank you.
Next is Jackie Madden, Judge.
Jackie Madden?
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
And Ms. Madden, once you have a seat, would you spell your name for the court reporter, please?
That's Jackie, Jackie, Madden, Madden.
All right. Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. How do you know Ms. Simon, Ms. Madden?
Biologically, I'm her aunt, but I raised her about half of her life and love her like she's my own daughter.
And what years did you raise her?
From 2002, gosh, till she was about 9, and then she went to live with her mom, and then again when she was 11.
Until about when?
That was a little better than a year.
And then she went back to stay with her mom.
And during that time frame, tell me what you remember about her.
Oh gosh. I've written it all out. I don't know if it's appropriate to read it now or later.
That's completely up to you. Whatever you got to say it now.
This is the easiest. Obviously, I have a different relationship with Leilani. I know a different Leilani than what is depicted, than what is splattered all over everywhere. My husband and I raised Leilani for about half of her life. Her younger brother was with us the majority of his life. We are blessed to have her in our lives. Because she was in our lives full time, we were able to see a Leilani that has not been depicted over the last 2 years. Leilani was happy, full of life, still is. Unfortunately, she's not able to show it right now. She has the biggest, beautiful smile. She's beautiful inside and out. We watched her protect her younger brother. God, she protected Paul like there's no tomorrow. She would protect him against others, whatever that took. She helped him with school. She was happy to help interpret him when needed. He had speech difficulties, and sometimes it was difficult to understand, but being just a little better than a year apart, she could sometimes understand, and she had better language skills than he did. She did very well in school. She attended a Montessori school for her younger elementary school years, which requires independent learning, responsibility for a student's coursework. It requires the ability to make decisions about how one completes their weekly assigned work. Her progress was similar to that of her classmates. Her teachers rarely had concerns with her academic abilities. As a teenager in middle school, she experienced bullying. Although this was concerning, she still excelled. She was proud to be successful in school and took ownership of her responsibilities as a student. Does all of this mean that she was a perfect student? Absolutely not. Does it mean that she didn't make mistakes as a young adult, as a teenager, as a child? No, it does not. We all do. We've all gone through that. We know what it's like to be a child. We know what it's like to make mistakes. We do it as adults all the way up until the time we pass away. She was independent. She did her chores without being directed to. She was responsible. She eagerly fixed dinner if her mom worked late, and I did experience that, so it's not hearsay. She could follow directions, both written and oral, if needed to prepare a meal. She was a good cook, and she loved it. I've watched her and my sister come together and have the best time doing so. They'd laugh, be silly, and have fun. The end product was a great meal. It was never a chore or work for her. She was always eager and sometimes sheepish or reserved to learn new things. She loved to help others. My mom, her grandmother, always needed help around the house. She would go help her often, several days a week. There was a 40 to 45-minute drive one way, but that didn't matter to her. Sometimes my mom gave her gas money, but not always. Leilani would go regardless. She loves her Mima. The grandsons, however, they're just too busy. They had their own lives. They rarely went over there. So this helped increase my mother's and Leilani's bond, as Leilani had the most time with my parents. Now we get to Leilani as a mom, and this is what I saw. I didn't see her every day. It was on occasion. But this is what I saw every time I saw her. Leilani loved and displayed love for all three of her children equally. I never saw her treat any of them differently. I never saw her discipline them by means other than verbal redirection. They, the children, were never hit, grabbed, shoved, hollered at, talked down to or about, called names. They were never disciplined by any derogatory means. The children were clean within reason. They're boys. Boys are dirty. They do it quickly. Boys climb. They fall down, and sometimes they fall up. They play hard and sometimes rough. All these things make for dirty boys who often have boo-boos, owies, and bruises. I've raised 3 of them, so I'm very well versed in that. They weren't filthy in a manner upon which they appeared uncared for or abused. The boys were healthy in appearance. I never saw them malnourished or starving. Quentin, though, with his beautiful soul, beautiful smile, and lovable bow legs, loved food. He always tried anything new without hesitation and liked most of it. He was a happy child, and he loved to eat, and it was never because he was unfed. That boy just loved to eat. I speak a lot of the boys because I had the most time with them. We only had 5 months with their sister due to this tragedy. The little I saw of her with her mom, she was completely in love with her. She was so proud to be her mom. She was proud of and loved all 3 of her children equally. She never treated any of them differently, even when they had extra challenges. The oldest definitely had extra challenges and could be a little difficult to take care of sometimes. Of course, she had experience with that too, because so does Paul. He was diagnosed with autism when he was a young child. So we had lots of challenges there. There's a lot of conversation in and out of the courts displaying Leilani as a monster who mistreated and neglected her children, especially Quentin. I never saw neglect, but she would pass off some of their care on to others from time to time. The children never resisted going to or with their mom. They loved her and loved being with her. Regardless of what the media and testimony says, I have seen the children go into hysterics upon drop-off at the babysitter's house. This happened the day after Sky was born. We were instructed to take the kids over there. When we did, immediately I pulled up in the driveway and both children went to crying. No, 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 they said. No, and cried the entire time as I dropped them off. It broke my heart. Literally broke my heart that I had to leave them there knowing that this was not the place they wanted to be. And we don't have a long-term relationship with these children. They see them every day. We don't. We see them 3-4 times a year, and that's it. But they didn't want to stay there. They wanted to go back home with us. The last time I saw Quentin,
There's some tissues if you need them, Miss Madden.
the last time was as Miss Carter's daughter. I don't remember which one it was when I dropped him off. She was taking Quentin into the house. He was the last one to go in, and he was just looking at me crying with his hands out, wanting not to go, to come back with us. That is the biggest heartbreak I will live with the rest of my life. This is important because it helps to show that all is not as has been depicted. All of this may seem that I'm biased or expressing or portraying Leilani as a completely different person than she is perceived to be. I'm not biased. I will tell you when you're doing wrong. Ask my sister. We have fought battle after battle after battle over the years over Leilani and Paul. You see, I did not get to see a Leilani who used drugs. I've heard she did, but I never saw any evidence of it. My experiences of time with Leilani only showed the Leilani I knew from the time she was a baby, as a toddler, as a child, as a preteen, as a teen, as my daughter, and as a mom. None of which was abnormal. It was all the normal things you would have growing up in life. I've already described these experiences, and they did not ever show a Leilani who was unworthy or a drug user. When Leilani moved in with her mom, my love for her never changed. I still saw her as my daughter. Sadly, for me, I chose to simply be an aunt. I chose to let my sister and her mom, chose to let my sister be her mom, not by blood, but by love, care, support, bond, and everything a mom is supposed to be. I knew I had to do this, otherwise Leilani would not get to truly form that bond that she and my sister needed, wanted, and were blessed to form. This was the kind of bond, a beautiful bond, that I saw with Leilani and her own children. I do wish, though, that I had maintained a better bond with her that showed her how much I loved her, because I do. Fast forward to October 5th, 2022. This date and the events and news to follow completely cripples my heart. I searched and searched for a way to describe my feelings about the loss of our precious, loving, beautiful Quentin. After a while, I finally figured it out. I was crippled, completely crippled. Crippled with fear of what was to come, anxiety, uncertainty, lack of understanding and comprehension of how such a thing could happen in our family. After all, as they say, this is what you see in the movies. Hurt, sorrow, dismay, anger. I was and am angry at the fact that drugs caused the tragedy to happen in our family. Drugs took Quentin and Leilani from us. Quentin will forever be in my heart, my thoughts, and loved by me, but his life, his body, his love will never be seen or fulfilled due to the influence of drugs. As for Leilani, her life will never be the same. Angry that even though Leilani and Danny were both present in the room with Quentin and the other two children, only Leilani was charged and convicted with the murder of our precious little Quentin. Angry that there's no evidence provided by the prosecution or otherwise presented during the trial that 100% proves that she was the one who murdered and disposed of Quentin's body. Angry that they both, Leilani and Danny, provided a setting that was dangerous for the children. They both used drugs. They both were under the influence on October 4th and 5th. Both parents, whom had altered abilities to provide proper care for these three children. Drugs led to two parents with altered abilities to function with clear and responsible behavior, rational decision-making that caused the death and loss of our Quentin. Angry that drugs took away Quentin, his siblings, and Leilani from our lives, from our family. Therefore, the only way to simplify the way my head and heart could process this into a single definition was, it's crippled. This will never go away. Now, all of this said, do I think there should be consequences for Leilani? Absolutely, yes. I do feel that she needs counseling. I do feel that she needs to complete a long-term multi-step drug rehab program. I do feel that she needs to complete multiple parenting classes. I've seen the difference that counseling and parenting classes have made for my sister. I know this isn't about my sister, but my sister affects Leilani. My sister, is definitely a better person, a better judge of character, and decision maker. I struggle to say jail time for Leilani because my heart struggles. My heart struggles to accept this as reality for my child, my daughter, my niece, my nephew. My love is never ending for her and her children, including Quentin. The loss of a child is the worst hurt anyone can ever feel. My own daughter, born August 2nd, 1989, at 3 months premature, weighing 1 pound 14 ounces, died on December 25th, 1989. She was born with chronic lung disease, which gave us limited time with her. I've never in my life felt such a loss, such hurt. I bring that up because my heart hurts for Leilani as she will surpass the feelings I endured as a result in the manner which she lost her son. This will be a permanent imprisonment for her. It'll never go away. It'll eat at her the rest of her life. Whether she is responsible for this or Danny is responsible for this, it doesn't matter. She has lost her son. She has lost her 3 children. No matter if the other 2 are alive or not, she has lost them. And she will never be able to get over that ever. This will torture her for the rest of her life. As a Christian, I have to forgive her, and I wholeheartedly do. It is not because I'm a Christian, it's because I do. Does that mean I can forget? Absolutely not. Does it mean it won't hurt? No. Does that mean it changes the situation and the blame? Absolutely not. I do blame her and Danny. Only the 2 of them know what happened that night. The horror that resulted lies on both of them. One is just as guilty as the other, and both should suffer the consequences. The Leilani that I described in here, the Leilani that I know, is not the Leilani that would take the life of her son, that would do this horrible thing.
Ms. Madden, just to perfect the record, you kept saying your sister. I want to be clear. You're talking about Ms. Howe, correct?
I am, yes.
Right. And you understand the judge is bound by only 2 sentences, okay? It can only be life without parole or life with parole. And to be clear on that as well, you're asking the court to impose a life with parole sentence, correct?
Parole would be great, but it would also be good if these other things that I mentioned, the counseling, that I know it's not required. I know, but I'm going to say it anyway. It would be great if these things could happen because that will help her. It will help to make her a better person. It will help to take this out of her life. I know prison is coming. That doesn't mean that there's not access to these things. And without these things, it's the likelihood of it changing is limited.
That's all the questions I have. Ms. Madden, Mr. Dean might have some questions for you, okay?
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may sit down, Ms. Madden.
Next, we have Billy Joe Howell, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Howell.
The information you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
If you would, ma'am, state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Billy Joe Howell. It's Billy, Billie, Joe, J-O, Howell, Howell.
And you are Ms. Simon's mother, correct?
Yes.
And you understand what we're here for today, correct?
Yes, sir, I do.
And I've asked you to come forward and if you wanted to make a statement on Leilani's behalf, did I not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you understand the court is the only sentence in the state of Georgia on a murder conviction is either life with or life without parole. You understand that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you still have a chance to address the court and say what's on your mind. Would you like to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you can either speak naturally or I can ask you questions or you can read from a prepared statement if you'd like to, Ms. Howell. Which do you prefer? Not trying to put you on the spot, but you were unsure before.
I am still unsure.
Okay.
My drugs has taken and had a huge impact on our entire lives. Even as Leilani's childhood, I failed her as a mom. I allowed addiction to take over my life at a young age. And you and your brother were just babies. And you lived with my sister. And I made sure you were okay. But through those times, it was still really hard on you because you wanted your mom. Just like I know they're going to want their mom. When you come to live with me, I'd already changed my life. And I'd been working really hard. But I had changed my addiction from drugs to work. And I still neglected your needs, your emotional needs. I still wasn't there for you to be your mom. My decisions have played an impact on things that have happened in your life. And there's absolutely nothing I can do to take it away. But I'm working every day, Leilani, every day between counseling and parenting classes and taking other classes because I want to be better. Because I have to believe that it's still not too late and that we still have a chance, regardless of what it looks like. Quentin and the other children changed my life even more. I was so afraid for you that I never let you fail. I always just scooped right in and fixed everything, which wasn't good for you. It didn't allow you to grow and to be able to make good decisions for yourself. I do take accountability today. Because I should have been a better mom and a better grandma. I should have seen something. You deserve better, and so do your children, all three of them. We might not be able to bring Quentin back, but he needs to come home, and we're all going to hold him one last time. I just want to make it better, Leilani, and I don't know how. All I can do is be here for you and answer every phone call. Talk to you and be there. Listen, really listen. I'm really listening. I love you, and we're going to get through it because I raised you to know that I love you unconditionally. And today I do not put conditions on that because I love you. I love you. I love you, Leilani.
Let me ask some questions. Did you ever see, we heard a lot of this during the trial. Was there ever any of this favoritism towards Zane or Sky or Quentin was the outcast?
No, sir. Never.
Okay. And Did you ever see Leilani maltreat or withhold food from Quentin?
Never.
Okay. And you understand the sentence is what?
Yes,
Be life without or life with. And do you think that Leilani is so far gone she should get a life without parole sentence?
no, I don't, because I wasn't so far gone. I'm not, and I refuse to let somebody make me believe that I am. I may be too late for a lot of things, but I'm here today. I'm here.
So you're asking the court to impose a life with parole sentence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you want to say before Mr. Dean asks you some questions?
Yes, sir.
That's all the questions I got, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard.
You're her mom.
Yes.
Since day one, you have, and I mean day one of the investigation, when Quentin being reported missing,
Yes.
you have been there for her.
Yes.
You were out of town when it happened, but you came back quickly.
Yes.
You have talked to her a lot, right?
Yes.
But before she was ever arrested and since she's been jailed, right?
Yes.
Is she, you understand the jury has now convicted her of murdering Quentin with intent to kill him. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
12 neutral, unbiased citizens taking a cold look at the evidence have said that is what happened here, beyond a reasonable doubt. You get that, right?
Yes, sir.
In all of the conversations you've had with her, has she ever taken responsibility for doing that?
No, she hasn't. But she has taken responsibility for her drug use.
I know that you've taught her to take responsibility for her actions, because when she says in the news interview, if it comes out that I'm responsible, I'll take responsibility. And she said that separately another time to the police. And I believe that that is coming from your upbringing of her. Do you think that's fair?
Yes, sir, I do.
Has she ever actually done it in this case, though?
No, she hasn't.
She hasn't admitted to you that you don't, Quentin.
No, she hasn't.
She hasn't told you how.
No, sir.
She's said things to you about, well, I just don't remember, and I'm not sure, and I'm trying to piece it together, and things like that, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that the evidence has just not been consistent with that kind of claim? Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
That, evidence shows that she made this very calculated drive to the dumpsters, scattered rice cereal in her car, drafted a text message to Danny about what she was supposedly doing on that trip, getting Oragel, told a bunch of lies about it to the police, right?
Yes, sir. I watched the trial.
And none of that is consistent with her just not knowing what happened. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. But even still, despite all the conversations you've had, despite you being her mother, the person that she had to confide in, she hasn't even taken responsibility privately in confidence to you.
No, she hasn't.
Is that frustrating to you?
Yes, it is.
Do you wish she would just come out and admit to you as her mother?
Yes. Yes, I do.
One moment, please. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. Hilliard.
I'm a little confused, Ms. Howell, because being convicted of something doesn't necessarily mean you did it, does it?
No,
Okay.
it doesn't.
So if you're convicted of something you didn't do and you don't admit to it, it doesn't mean you did it. I mean, just because you're convicted of it.
That's correct.
Any questions?
So being convicted of something is not the same thing as admitting something you actually did now, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can be convicted of something you didn't do, right?
Yes, sir.
You can be acquitted of something you did do, right?
Yes, sir.
And there's all manner of things in between, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all the questions I got.
Anything further, Mr. Dean?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Howell, you may sit down. Any further witnesses, Mr. Hilliard?
I have to give my client an opportunity to allocate if she wants to, but I think that we've already discussed it. I don't think she wants to testify, Judge, but I think that you have to make that inquiry. So.
Okay, Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon, we've come to the place where you have the opportunity to testify if you choose to do so. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you still have the right to testify, and you also have the right not to testify? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
No one can make you testify. And whether or not you testify or make a statement is solely your choice, not your attorney's choice, but your choice.
Right.
Do you also understand that if you choose to testify and you take the stand, then the state will have an opportunity to ask you questions as well?
Yes.
And you understand that we are at the point where there's evidence in aggravation and mitigation, and all of this I will consider in determining the sentence today. Do you understand that as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Simon, do you wish to testify?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. You have a seat.
And just for the record, we've discussed it with Judge and several times, and if she has any questions, she knows she can ask me again at this point. But other than that, we're ready to move into just argument phase.
Okay, let's move into argument then. Mr. Dean?
Your Honor, I will reserve.
If I can approach, Judge.
You certainly may.
One ministerial thing. Early in this case, before I got it, the Public Defender's Office had filed a motion to preserve notes, evidence, and things as such. For the last 2 years, we've tried to figure out why they couldn't release Quentin's remains. It seems that motion is the holdup. I spoke with Mr. Dean last week. I spoke with Ms. Simon. At this point in time, we withdraw that motion from here on out to preserve. That way, the remains can go ahead and be released back to the family for appropriate burial. And whatever orders need to be put on to do that, I will get with Mr. Dean and I will do that.
Before Mr. Hilliard gets into the substance of this argument, may I respond and we kind of bring this issue to a conclusion?
Yes.
That'd be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Just to clarify, this was during the period of time that the defendant was represented by previous counsel. It was Robert Attridge, Joseph Vinieri, and maybe Caitlin Walker. I believe it was Mr. Vinieri sending me an email asking me to ensure that Quentin's remains, which by that time had come down from the FBI lab in Quantico to the GBI lab in Pooler, I think. He sent me an email asking me to ensure that the remains not be released for interment, but instead retained by law enforcement in case they wanted to request any additional forensic testing. And I got that email and communicated it to law enforcement and asked that they honor that, which they have. Mr. Hilliard's right, that email is why Quentin's remains have not been released to any family members for burial. In advance of today's hearing, after the most recent of a number of requests to the family from the family that we address this issue, I sent Mr. Hilliard and Mr. Pearson an email asking whether Ms. Simon would lift what essentially functions as like a hold on Quentin's remains on the record, so that we can safely release Quentin's remains to the family for burial or cremation or whatever it is that they ultimately decide to do. Because I very much respect the request and agree that it's probably something that ought to happen. We could agree to that without being accused of spoliation or something like that later on down the line. So I'm happy to hear that they're willing to do that. If I would ask that the court inquire of Ms. Simon personally about that and confirm that she's okay with that, so that everybody can then move forward.
And I was going to get to that next, Judge. I've had the discussion with her about spoliation and to preserve the record for appeal. We had that discussion, and I'll let her answer for herself in a second. But we understand it could affect the appeal going forward, but she felt that it was more important for the family to be able to bury Quentin than to preserve any possible testing for future references. And I told her both the positives and the negatives of it. Is that correct, Leilani?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'll let the court engage in a colloquy about that. But we did discuss it, correct?
Yes,
right?
yes, we did. And Ms. Simon, you've heard the discussion that's going on right now about Quentin's remains.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a hold placed on the release of the remains in case there was any further testing that needed to be done. And that request was actually made by the attorneys who originally represented you. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The release will happen, but we want to make sure that's what you would like to do. Would you like for his remains to be released to the family?
Yes, most specifically my brother who's here today, Paul Simon. I would like him to be the one that they're released to.
Yeah, I don't know how logistically how that works.
I don't know. That has more to do with probate and administration, and I don't know anything about that.
So I think who they're ultimately released to is kind of not our lane. I think that's between like the GBI and the coroner and the police and all that. I think our only concern here is whether, as a result of the defense's request to the state, they're going to continue to be prevented from being released to anybody at all or not.
And I understand that, Mr. Dean. I understand that makes sense. So who the remains will be released to is a matter that's beyond this court. Okay. But you agreed to have the remains released.
Yes, Mr. Hilliard spoke to me about it on Sunday when he found out about it. I waited until yesterday so I could think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But my son's been through enough. To be honest, he's been through enough.
Okay. And Ms. Simon, do you have any further questions about that?
No.
Okay.
And I'd like to, I discussed with you that there could be further testing and science could advance in the years to come.
I know why
it would be a downfall. I understand that there's still matter with the and I want my baby home. I just want to go.
All right, thank you, Ms. Simon. You may have
I wanted to clear that up. My argument's simple, Judge. We're asking for a life with parole sentence. It's only life with or life without. I understand Mr. Dean gave this long list here, but at the end of the day, she's a young lady, and life in Georgia, at least, is 35 to 40 years before your first eligibility for parole with parole. That puts her in her late 60s, early 70s, mid 60s to late 60s to early 70s. We understand that we're talking about the death of a 20-month-old child, but Your Honor sat through the trial, and we don't know the manner or method in which it occurred. We still don't, and that's an issue for an appeal, which will go up. The question is whether or not she's someone who should be stuck away for the rest of her life without any possibility of seeing the light of day again. And I urge to you, there's nothing about her criminal history, which is pretty much non-existent until this. There's nothing about her life, which shows that she is above any redemption or rehabilitation. The people who know her best have asked the court for a life with parole sentence. So we're asking the court for that. I understand why Mr. Dean wants to do all of these fines. I get it. I understand why he wants to ask for his consecutive sentences. I get it. But to me, the ultimate question is whether it's life with or life without parole. And we think that she deserves life with parole. We think she deserves a shot at coming out again one day. Because it's not just about fashioning a sentence that punishes the crime. You have to realize that the offender is going to be serving the time as well. And while the offender is serving the time, there has to be something to maintain hope or institutional behavior. And in this particular case, I think a life with parole sentence would serve that purpose. So I understand the severity of the crime that she's been convicted of. I understand Mr. Dean's position. I don't agree with it. I don't think there's anything about this case necessarily that means that she's unredeemable or should never see the light of day again. So we're asking the court to give life with parole. We're asking the court to merge the false statements and the concealing of death. We're asking the court to not impose a fine as a life with parole sentence is what it means, life with parole. So there's no manner or method or ability to pay a fine. And I understand the reason why Mr. Dean wants to do that, but I just don't see that there's any ability to pay. So that's what we're asking, and we're leaving it with the court. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Mr. Dean.
Your Honor, will be relieved to hear that I do not have an hour and a half long PowerPoint to present to the court, but I do want to talk for a couple minutes. I'll start with the big picture of what the evidence shows, both through the trial and then the evidence that we've added today. Just, a few simple bullet points here. The defendant didn't like Quentin. There's credible evidence of that. The jury evidently found it credible. Had some witnesses come in and dispute that today, but I would submit that they are not the most objective sources of information on that. Her dislike for Quentin was not a result of any drug problem. It's totally independent of that. If you combine the testimony of Melanie Bowling and Talia McCarta and Michelle McCarta, it spanned his entire life. Has nothing to do with drugs whatsoever. She murdered him. And the jury has found that she had the specific intent to kill when she did so. And this sets this case apart from cases in which the jury only makes a finding of guilt on felony murder, but acquits on malice murder. The jury did not do that. And there's a great deal of aggravation. Some of the aggravation is charged as independent offenses, concealing the death and false statements and false report of a crime and so forth. Some of it is not. The aggravation includes her covering it up in a deliberate, calculating, and very manipulative way. It involved totally shameless and reprehensible attempts to blame people without conscience, right? Just no compunction about blaming other people who were totally innocent of this and who, in fact, loved Quentin very much. She behaved in a way that shows a total lack of remorse, both during the investigation, when on day one, she's asking Paul, hey, to get some weed to smoke when we get home. On October 18th, when the police have announced that they're about to start searching for Quentin's little body in the landfill, she's out at Stingray's getting drunk and flirting with the waiter in a continuation of what we talked about at trials, kind of what the theory was here, that a lot of this had to do with her need for male attention. This seems to have continued. She behaved in a way that shows absolutely no remorse and no compunction about what she did during her pretrial investigation and during the trial itself, as we've tried to show here today. Even to her mother, her closest confidant, who taught her to take responsibility for your actions, which is something that Billie Joe Howell, has done. I mean, she did it here today. She talked about all of her missteps and how she pulled herself out of them. She took no responsibility even to her mother, who taught her those things and was her close confidant. It's one thing to not admit to the police what you did and not take any responsibility to the police. It's kind of another thing to treat your mother, whom you claim to love so much, the same way. The upshot of all this is that she just doesn't seem sorry at all. She really doesn't seem sorry. She seems sorry that she got caught. She seems sorry that she's gonna she had to stand trial. She seems sorry that she's going to go to prison for a long time. The only question here is whether it's forever for her. But she doesn't really seem sorry about what she did. If she had been sorry about this at any point, there were a million off-ramps. After killing Quentin, she could have just not thrown his body in a dumpster. We get these abusive head trauma child homicide cases. Typically, the fact pattern is the perpetrator does the thing. They do the act. And then they just say to the police, oh, I found him in the crib like this, and I don't know why he's not breathing, or there was some sort of accident or something like this. She could have played it that way after killing Quentin. She could have. So that's like off ramp number one, is just don't throw him in the dumpster. Don't do that. And at any time, she could have stopped telling lies, just refused to talk at all. Certainly didn't have to blame anybody else. She could have just said she didn't know. Certainly didn't have to blame like 3 or 4 different people. So she doesn't seem sorry at all, and she's taken no responsibility, and she seems to sort of think that she's kind of at least playing as though she's the victim. I would ask the court to look at this letter to WTOC and really read it, in which she's playing the role of like a detached commentator evaluating the evidence, and she'd sure love to know what happens, but the problem is she just keeps running into these gaps in the evidence, and that's really frustrating to her because she wants to know what happened, and it's just so infuriating and bizarre. Because obviously she knows what happened because she's the one who did it. It is bizarre, it is infuriating, and it is quite frankly insulting to everyone's intelligence, and really makes a mockery of the process. There's been this effort to blame it on drugs and mental health issues. Mr. Hilliard is too smart and savvy and experienced to try to do that directly, because I think he knows that you don't come in and say, Judge, it was the drugs. But some of the witnesses maybe don't have that level of experience and were willing to just say it was the drugs. The drugs did it. To medicalize it, to kind of shift responsibility from her onto her conditions or these substances. Lots of people have tough upbringings. Lots of people take drugs, but very few of them kill their own child. We're familiar with words like homicide, killing somebody else, suicide, killing yourself, fratricide, killing your brother, or biological, or your brother in arms, even infanticide. There's a word for this, the court may or may not know, filicide, killing your own child who's not an infant. A lot of people don't know that word. And the reason a lot of people don't know that word is it just doesn't happen often. It is a heinous thing to do. So heinous, in fact, that people do it very infrequently. And that's what she did. The drugs did not do that. I'll point out something about the drugs in this case. It's easy for people to get up there and kind of say, without really examining like how this would work or what this really means, is, oh, the drugs caused her to do it. Let's look at the substances that she was on that night: cocaine, Percocet, marijuana. None of these substances are the kind of substances that are going to induce like psychosis and essentially turn you into a different person or make you do something that you have no control over. You hear about that sort of thing, I guess, like bath salts and things like that. But that is just that's not what she was on. It wasn't anything like that. And it's a total red herring to say that the drugs did it. What she did to him was something that was inside of her already. It was inside of her already. Maybe the drugs lowered her inhibitions. Maybe they acted as an accelerant. Maybe they're like, the match to the candle or something like that. But they didn't cause her to do what she did. She did it. The drugs are not responsible for it. She is. She just did a wicked thing, and she needs to take responsibility for it. And so our recommendation is a total sentence of life without the possibility of parole, plus 65 years and a fine of $117,000. The maximum that I calculate is available under the law. I've emailed the court separately that the count by count breakdown. I won't go through that here. And the justification for the fine. That is essentially our goal there is to ensure that if the defendant ever attempts to profit from her crimes by signing a book deal or taking a paid interview, that there will be an existing financial obligation that will cause at least some of the money, up to $117,000, to be diverted to defray some of the costs associated with her conduct in this case. Now, that brings me to kind of the last question, which is really separate and apart from whether the court judges a fine here, is why life without parole and not life? That's really the only question, is whether the court is going to impose the additional punishment of the life sentence never being parolable. And it's a reasonable thing for the defense to say, gosh, life is a serious sentence. 30 years before you become parole eligible is a long time. And that's true. And we are here asking the court to go above that and to impose the maximum. And I'd like to kind of defend why and argue why. When we talk about sentencing, we talk about the principles of punishment. There are a number of them. We learn them in law school, and they come up in sentencing arguments. And Mr. Hilliard has gestured at some of them, rehabilitation and things like that. And I'll just kind of walk through these. One of the principles of punishment that we talk about is incapacitation, which is incapacitating the offender from committing a similar offense. If somebody's so dangerous, they just need to be locked up to keep them off the street. Now, can I say that incapacitation, the need for incapacitation, justifies the additional sentence of life without parole here? Not really. I don't think that principle of punishment is a justification. That she's so dangerous that life with the possibility of parole is not sufficient. Next, we have deterrence, both specific and general. Specific deterrence, meaning the need to have a serious enough sentence that it deters her from doing something similar, and general deterrence, that it deters other people in the community who might contemplate doing the same thing from doing it. I don't know that that's really in play here either. I don't think she needs life without parole versus life to not do it again. And I don't know that there's anybody out there who's contemplating killing their child who's going to go through with it if she gets life without the possibility of parole, but won't go through with it if she gets life without the possibility of parole. And then we have rehabilitation, the need for rehabilitation. I cannot say that there's no chance she could be rehabilitated, that she's totally beyond rehabilitation. I think the court could reasonably find that. I think there's a lot of evidence here that she is incorrigible. But I can't say for sure that after 30 years, she's so beyond the hope of rehabilitation that she has to stay in on that basis, that she just can't be rehabilitated. And so where we end up is at the last principle of punishment that I know of, and that is retribution. Punishment because you deserve it. A harsh punishment because you deserve it by virtue of what you did and how you acted. Not dressed up as being, towards rehabilitation or towards deterrence, but just punishment as a matter of moral desert. This sometimes gets a bad rap. I've heard it described as the least morally defensible principle of punishment. That somehow punishment dressed up as being for rehabilitation or being for deterrence is somehow morally acceptable. That punishment simply because you deserve it, because of what you did. But I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. For one, it is the principle of punishment that, to the state's view, most lines up with the average person's intuition about what punishment is for and their concept of justice. It is actually okay and right and good to punish people harshly simply because they deserve it and not justify it further. You have to get really educated to learn that universal moral intuition is actually a bad thing or somehow wrong. Now, we sometimes kind of accept that what people say about retributive punishment is true, that it is less defensible than the other principles of punishment. There's not a consensus on this. That is actually not the consensus view. There are a lot of very smart academics and legal philosophers who continue to defend and make the case for retribution. There's an article by a legal academic, Dan Markle. He's a professor at Florida State Law School. Coincidentally and tragically, he was actually murdered himself. But he wrote on retributive punishment. In a 2011 article that I found, he talks about how it has both a communicative function and an expressive function. That punishment, retributive punishment, because you deserve it, a harsh sentence, just because you deserve it and you did a really bad thing, communicates to the defendant the seriousness of what they did and society's lack of acceptance for it. And it performs an expressive function too. It communicates to the defendant the seriousness of what she did, and it forms an expressive function. It expresses to society how seriously the court takes behavior like this. And I've got some long quotes in here from these articles. I think I will not read them. I think I will just kind of restate that in my words. Another way of saying this is that a severe sentence, here the harshest one under the law is what we're asking for, sends a message to both her and to the community. And she needs the message. Quite frankly, she needs the message. She doesn't get it. She needs to receive a solemn statement from the court that for an offense like this and for aggravating circumstances like this, the only punishment that will do, the only punishment that will adequately get through to her the seriousness of what she's done and just how unacceptable her actions are, is the maximum sentence under the law. That appears to be, at this point, the only thing that the court can do to try to get through to her. This letter to WTOC is dated September of this year. She still doesn't get it. And the court should send her a message. One, this is nonsense. And two, you deserve the most severe sanction that the court can lay on you. The court should send the community a message too. To the people that cared about Quentin, who knew him during his life, he was a child in their lives, and to people who came to know him only after the defendant killed him. And why do these people care about him? Simply because he was a child in their community, and that is enough. The court should send a message to them that their intuition about how monstrous it is for a mother to kill her own child and then act like she acted in the aftermath, and what the price tag for that ought to be, that intuition that they have is entirely correct and is shared by the justice system and by the court, which is really their justice system and their court. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Dean, I was looking for the email, and I believe the computer that I'm looking at has not updated, and I would like to have that before me. Would you also pass up? Yeah, thank you. Okay. I'm going to pronounce sentence. Please stand. The one thing that I will say before pronouncing sentence is clearly little Quentin Simon's life and death impacted many, many individuals, but also the community at large. Leilani Marie Simon, the court sentences you as follows. Count 1, malice murder, felony, life with the possibility of parole. Count 2, felony murder, vacated by operation of law. Count 3, felony murder is vacated by operation of law. Count 4, concealing the death of another, 10 years consecutive to count 1. Count 5, false report of a crime is a misdemeanor, 12 months concurrent to count 4. Count 6, making a false statement, 5 years concurrent with count 4. Count 7, making a false statement, concurrent with count 4, 5 years. Count 8, false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 9, making a false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 10 merges into count 9. Count 11, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 12, making a false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Julia, did I get count 11?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Count 13, making a false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 14 merges into count 13. Count 15, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 16, making a false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 17 merges into 16. Count 18, 5 years to serve, concurrent with count 4. And false statements, making a false statement, count 19, concurrent with count 4. That is 5 years as well. Is there any issue that the state wants to point out with the sentence and the merger of the counts?
Was count 4, the 10 years to serve on count 4, is that consecutive to count 1?
It is consecutive to count 1.
And may I presume that the court is not imposing any fines?
No. Mr. Hilliard?
So just to make sure, life plus 10 is the operative sentence?
Life plus 10.
Life plus 10. I guess we should do the same for appeal as well.
Okay. And with that, Ms. Simon, you are hereby notified that under the law of Georgia, you are entitled to appeal the guilty verdict of the court. And if you decide to do so, you must file your appeal within 30 days of this date. You're also informed that you have the right to retain a lawyer of your own choice to represent you on your post-trial motions and appeals to the appropriate appellate court of Georgia. If you cannot afford a lawyer, the court will appoint one for you. You are entitled to and will be given a transcript of all pretrial, trial, and post-trial matters without cost to you if you cannot afford a transcript. You may file a motion for a new trial, or you may appeal your case directly to the appropriate appellate court of Georgia for review. I'm signing the statement of appeal. I will hand this down to the clerk. If you'll please hand that to Mr. Hilliard.
With the assistance of counsel, Ms. Simon has acknowledged in writing her statement of appeal rights.
And the habeas statement is as follows. You are advised that the statute of limitations for habeas corpus in this state is 4 years in the case of felonies and 1 year in the case of misdemeanors. The statute begins to run from the date the conviction becomes final. All right. May there be peace somehow.
Nothing further from the defense, Judge.
Thank you very much. Anything further?
No, you're right.
Nothing from the state, nothing from the defense.
No,
All right. This concludes this matter. We are adjourned.
Okay, y'all. I don't even know what to say with this. I'm gonna be honest with y'all.
The whole thing makes me so mad.
The fact that the family was sitting there making her sound like she's such this perfect little person and this perfect mother, and she murdered her child.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And like okay, so Georgia is their laws are so weird. Like, this should have been a death penalty case. But
Yeah.
their criteria for it to be a death penalty case is that she would have either had to kill a peace officer, she would have had to have unalived Quentin while committing another felony, or she would have to have a prior felony on her record for it to have been a death penalty case. And those requirements are just ridiculous because so malice murder is the most that they could charge her with. But either way, so she's still going to have to do 40 years before
Well, yeah,
she's eligible for parole.
yeah, she'll have to serve that first 10, and then they'll go on to the life sentence before she'll have to serve at least 30 years of that life sentence before she's eligible for parole. So she's stuck in there for at least 40 years. No matter how much she appeals it, she's not going to get out. And she should have gotten, if not the death penalty. And does Georgia is that a deep state?
Yeah.
Okay, well, she should have gotten that. But since they didn't even go for that, she should have got life without parole.
Yeah, and then the other thing is the judge not imposing any fines because Georgia doesn't have the Son of Sam's law. So she can write a book, she can sell her story and make, keep the money. And that's not fair.
No, she shouldn't even be allowed to do that. Literally, and like I told you back in the private chat, I guarantee she's going to do something that she can make money off of her little boy's life that she took.
Yeah, definitely.
So Michelle, she's been in there. Let's see, he passed away in October of 2022. She was arrested. Was it November? She was arrested in 2022.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's already served 2 years. So yeah, she'll probably get time served. So basically she still has 8 years in if they give her time served on the 10-year sentence. Then she'll go into the so she has about 38 years before she would be eligible for parole.
Right. Yeah. So she'll be 63.
Well, she's 25 now.
She'd be 63 whenever she's eligible for parole.
And they were talking about the fines. Right. But they were talking about the fines and stuff like that, and that there's, he doesn't see a way that she would be able to pay them and this and that. And she's got all these men sending her money. They sit right there and said that. Get it from that. Make her ass work hard labor and pay it back.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm curious how the hell her as an inmate is speaking with an inmate at another facility. Like, how the fuck do you find all these multiple men while you're in jail?
Pen pals.
That is just it. And the guy is a flipping RSO.
I know. That was so crazy.
Okay, so I was trying to write all of this down. That's the one that the lady said that they call themselves husband and wife, right?
Yeah,
Okay, because I was trying to write it down. Then they went over to the guy from the Boston area, and I couldn't remember if it was the RSO or the guy from Boston that was putting money on her books.
The one from Boston.
Okay, so he's not in jail, right?
Right.
That's the one that's putting the money on her books. So is that the one that they're calling each other husband and wife?
No, it's the RSO.
Okay, all right. So I wrote that down. I'm sorry.
Yo, you see me earlier when I was watching it. I was yelling at my TV.
Oh my God.
And see, they did say it was the defense. It was her prior attorneys who wanted Quentin's remains
safe,
preserved.
Yes.
In case there was advancement in technology that could help her.
Right. And so he hasn't been cremated either, because like I said, I had read that part in an article, but the DA did say, if they release it to the family, that way they can bury him or cremate him, whatever they want to do. But y'all, Billy Joe was not happy. about her stating that she wanted her brother to get his remains.
I've seen that.
want
And
to
I
watch.
also was watching Billy Joe when she was, sitting in the pews.
Uh-huh.
She's on something.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
you could tell.
you can
Yeah.
tell. You can tell
Oh,
when she's
yeah.
a fan.
The
Yeah.
way she kept flipping her hair and twitching, she's tweaking.
Mhm. And all right, Betty Jo, what was you gonna say before that?
Who?
You
Me?
you started to
No,
say something. I thought.
you you can tell by the way she was acting on the stand too.
Oh my God, y'all,
That
she
she
was
was
so
on fire.
dramatic.
And then her standing up in the courtroom. What the hell was that all about? It's like, sit down, lady.
It's I don't know. She was like thinking okay, I'm gonna stand up, maybe intimidate the judge, and maybe she won't get life or whatever. I don't know what her tactic was for that, but
Come on.
I noticed there was a few of them, but whenever the
well,
judge told Leilani to stand up for
stand
the
up.
sentence, there was a
Yeah.
few of them back there that stood up, and I was
So
like, oh, y'all are confused.
yeah, maybe because the judge said please stand, maybe they thought, well, hey, the judge said to stand up. I'm gonna go ahead. Maybe that's what it was. But because I
Yeah,
saw another guy that was back behind Leilani that stood up also
yeah, I
whenever
did
it was
too.
said.
It's
So
like
maybe that's what it was.
you're making a fool of yourself. Sit down.
And that aunt, y'all.
Oh
Lord.
my God, yeah.
And K Bird actually did. I think it was K Bird that said it. That the aunt kind of contradicted herself. She said
Yeah.
that she wasn't around. She hadn't been around to Leilani in a while. But then she's given off all these, her mothering skills. How good of a mother she was, and this and that. Well,
Hmm.
how do you know all this if you wasn't around her?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what? It made me so mad when the aunt said about how she had a baby, who was born 1 pound, 3 ounces, who
Mhm.
passed away. And
Right.
she compared that to what
What?
Leilani is going
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Look, Jaden's twin was born 1 pound, 1 ounce, and she passed away. And there is nothing that there is no
No.
comparison between, because
No.
I know that feeling.
No.
There's no,
Leilani took her baby's life.
exactly, there's no comparison. I
No.
was so insulted by that woman saying that. I was pissed.
Yeah. That is completely different.
Yeah.
Leilani, with her own hands, took that baby's life, where
Mhm.
that aunt's baby died when she was
Yep.
little.
Yes.
That's like apples to oranges at that point.
Yeah. You
Hmm.
can't compare
It's
that. No.
Like,
no,
that
that's
infuriated me. It infuriated me.
and I just got fake vibes from the aunts
Mhm.
and her and Billy Joe talking about that all the substances that she was on and blah 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 and all this and that. Well, if you knew the girl was on all of this, why didn't you get her help
Mm.
before she took her baby's life? Not say, oh well, I think she needs counseling, she needs this. Well, it's too late for that now.
Yep.
Like she's done took
Is,
this little baby's life.
point is,
Yeah.
you knew she was doing all that.
Yeah, you
Why
should
in the world did you leave them kids with her?
with her,
Mm,
right?
exactly.
And
And
okay, so
she's like, the mom, Billy Joe, is like, I'm here now.
it's
I'm
Yeah.
too
here now.
late.
Too
It's
And I'm
too
like,
late.
what?
You should have been there with her and her brother her entire life, not
Yes.
have them living over there with your sister, who was basically upholding everything that she done and is probably enabled her and everything else. You should have been there from the jump, and y'all probably wouldn't have been sitting in the courtroom today going through
Hmm.
all this.
If she wouldn't have left them babies there with her, she wouldn't have been sitting in this courtroom.
No, I think Billy Joe should have been held responsible for that.
Yes. I think she should have been
I
charged
really do.
Oh,
with
and
something.
then the aunt saying that Danny is just as responsible.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to ask because I didn't watch but like 5 seconds of the trial. Was it ever said during the trial that Danny was there when Quentin passed away?
No.
He was
It didn't
asleep, so he doesn't know.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that's what I was wondering. When the aunt said that, I was like, okay, well, was it ever proven that he was?
Didn't they say he was asleep in another room or whatever?
I just know that he was asleep. And they were able to like completely rule him out of even knowing anything because he was actually asleep. Like I think his they checked like his phone steps or something that showed that he didn't get out of the bed. He was asleep.
Okay.
Yeah, there was something I can't remember.
Then he went to work the next morning.
And
ain't
to her.
that called him and said that Quentin was missing?
Yeah.
Okay, Tiff said that his watch or phone one showed it. Okay.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Okay. And Elsie said, I noticed that her husband, she's talking about Billy Joe's husband, had his head down the whole time. He wouldn't even look up. And I noticed that too. He, like, when he got done on the stand, he'd sit down and he never looked up after that.
Nope.
He was shaking too, like he was crying.
But I mean, these people knew that she was on drugs.
Yes.
Why did they not get her help?
Yes. That's what I don't understand. You sit here and you say you don't want her to spend the rest of her life in prison. You want her to have a chance at life. Well, where is this baby's chance at life?
Yes, exactly. Because
he has no chance. He's gone.
To me, it seems like they were more worried about her being able to get out of prison than the fact that Quentin is no longer here.
Yeah. Where was his chance when he was probably fighting for his life at 20 months old?
I don't. Yeah, I was like Betty Joe. I was wanting to throw something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Today when I watched that, I was screaming at my TV. I said, boy, if I could afford a new TV, I'd put this remote right through it.
Yeah.
I rolled my eyes so much when that aunt was on the stand. My eyes are literally probably going to be stuck in the back of my head.
The whole time. The whole time I'm like, she can cry for herself because people are talking about her, you know, but she could never cry for her own child.
Nope.
Okay, so the whole time that all those people were up there, how good she was, and the friend, I'm sorry, she shouldn't have even been up there. How Leilani was at 15 has no effect on how she was when she took this baby's life.
Right.
I'm sorry that you just wasted 10 minutes of everybody's time with that.
But
the fact that after everybody was done on the stand, there was no more tears. When they started talking about Quentin and him being murdered and all this and that, not another tear. It was only when they were talking good about her is when she was crying. It was never no tears when it came to Quentin and him being talked about.
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, during the trial, when they were showing his little remains that they were able to find, she didn't even blink.
No, I did see that part where like I said, the lady was on the stand. She was talking about when she received his remains, they came in the paper bags and they were showing the pictures of his remains. She never batted an eye.
Nope.
Never bothered her. She sat right there and looked right at those pictures and never bothered her.
Well, you see how quick her tears dried up after they all talked?
Yeah.
Them suckers were dry in like 2 seconds.
God.
Okay, so King said they had no one else lost. That's why they probably had her come. I would have declined. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know nothing about her since, we went our separate ways. So
right.
I can't speak on it.
Yeah, it just, meeting her when they were young and at 15, she was so nice and she could have taken advantage of her. But that doesn't mean that a few years down the line, she's not going to take the life of her child.
Exactly.
That didn't do no good for her.
Who's to say if she didn't get caught, if this all didn't go down, who's to say she wouldn't have done it to the other two?
I very well think that she would have.
You know,
She only cared obviously about men because
yeah.
her and her mama was at the bar partying and drinking and flirting with guys, and now here she is in a jail with all these men sending her money and talking to them and all this and that. She obviously doesn't care what type of man she gets.
No.
One, she obviously made it plain as day in sentencing today that she didn't care about Quentin. If she would have, she'd have been crying through the whole thing, whether they was talking about him or whoever else.
Yep.
It's just.
I do wonder who has her oldest son, Dane. I wonder if he's in the state custody or, foster.
I'm thinking he's probably with his father.
I think they don't know who his father is. I know they know who Quentin's father is, but I'm not sure if they know who Zane's father is.
I'm sure she knows.
But then again, I don't know, y'all. I'm sorry. The way that they act, talking about all these men, like she goes through men like she changes clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she's talking to an RSO.
Well, doesn't Danny have his daughter?
No,
parents.
We don't know who he doesn't have her, but we don't know
Parents
if. Yeah, it could be his parents, but they never said.
Billy Joe should have charges on her because she played a role in this.
Yeah.
By leaving him with her.
Mm-hmm.
That's where if she would have either stayed home and took care of him or took him with them whenever they went to work and maybe took the girl that was a babysitter with them or just anything like that, just not left him with her.
Right, exactly. Or like the little girl said when she was up there, ask them to take him. They would have took him in a heartbeat.
Never thought nothing about it.
I wish so bad they
problem with the babysitter because what, she was in your business and she knew what was going on, what type of family you were.
Right. It's just, oh my God. And don't y'all remember Billy Joe even tried to accuse the lady of taking him?
Yeah, I remember.
Remember we saw the video? Yeah, just went on up in her house and was jumping on her. Yeah, I mean, so them talking about Leilani blaming this person and that person. Yeah, she shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have put the baby in a dumpster. She shouldn't have even harmed him at all. But Billy Joe was doing the same thing, going around blaming people and, instead of saying, Leilani, did you do something to him? If you did, you need to tell it now. We need to know where he's at. She's at a bar with her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Getting drunk and messing with men.
I just wish so bad they would have found more of his remains and been able to determine a cause of death.
That's what, I heard that part, and that part of his remains are still in the landfill. King Scarlett says she was trying to be a Casey Anthony.
I
get away with it like Casey Anthony did.
No.
The only solace I find, like, as because I'm religious, I do believe, like, Leilani, Casey Anthony, I do believe they will go down, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, they're gonna be dancing with the devil.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? They for sure. Like, the devil's got a whole section for them down there. So
you can't expect people not to come at you and say stuff about you when they know you did this to your child.
Like the aunt was saying about all the stuff that had been put out the last 2 years.
Oh, well, it's true.
It was put out because we all watched it on camera. The stuff that came out of Leilani's mouth and the way she was acting. It wasn't rumors or misinformation. We literally seen it.
Yeah.
In your front yard and antagonize all them people that were out there protesting.
Yeah.
Sitting there drinking and smoking and acting stupid.
or sitting there saying, well, I hope that maybe just somebody, a family who couldn't have kids but wanted kids, has him and they're taking care of him.
Yeah. How can you sit
while
there
he
and do all that?
while he's laying in a landfill dead and you put him there.
Yeah.
And
I
she
mean,
said it with a very straight face.
why won't she just tell? She was getting life either way, with
Yeah.
or without parole. Why not just tell what happened to him? You know she knows because she's the one who discarded his body. So
Right.
she has to know what happened.
I
She knows
mean,
exactly what happens, and she needs to come clean.
yeah, but she probably in her sadistic mind probably thinks, well, hey, I don't have to tell what I did to him and everything that happened that night. Look, yeah, I got life, but I still have the a possibility that I'm still going to get out of prison.
Yeah, but the parole board will never grant her parole if she does not have remorse and tell what she did.
Yeah, because Susan Smith,
Mm-hmm.
on her parole hearing,
Mm-hmm.
she had a little bit of remorse. You can see a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but she also told what she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
that's
one of their
another one.
requirements.
They still denied her.
Oh,
K-Bird,
George.
I agree too, K-Bird. K-Bird says, I'm angry with the sentence, to be honest. She deserves a max, in my opinion, because of the heinous, brutal act, lies, and no remorse. I completely
Right.
agree.
I agree.
See, I think Georgia needs to change their capital murder because their criteria for the capital murder is it's just not right. Because if she should have been charged with capital murder.
She took the life of a 20 month. He wasn't even 2 yet.
I know it. I know.
Not even, and they sitting there talking about the baby being bow legged.
I know.
I didn't like how they were, just some of the things that they got up there and said. Now the younger girl, what she said was okay. Madam Mom, you're welcome. What she said was okay, and how she was saying it, but the family basically getting up there talking about Quentin, oh, his little bow legs, and how he liked to eat. It wasn't because he was starving, but just that boy liked to eat.
You tell me what you don't like to eat.
But like they were upholding her.
Yep. Yeah. They were trying their best to make her look like she's a good person, that she just, like
good mother. Yeah.
Like this accident just happened or something. I don't get it.
Listen, happen every day, but when you take your child's life, that's not an accident. I'm sorry.
No.
When anybody takes somebody's life, it's not an accident.
I couldn't do it if
killed Lakin Riley. I'm sorry.
I couldn't do it.
He should have got the death penalty too.
He didn't?
No, he
got life
plus something. But I believe they're gonna ship him right on back where he came from.
So was he charged with capital murder?
He was charged with malice murder, I believe.
See, I hate Georgia. Because most of these people who are charged with malice murder, they could be being charged with capital murder, but there's stupid criteria that they have to be committing a felony while unaliving somebody, or that
he already had I think he already had a felony, but they didn't go for the death penalty.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Didn't go for the death penalty.
Yeah. And Tonka, I agree. Tonka says Leilani got a slap on the wrist and deserves the highest available punishment, in my opinion. That's exactly what she got, was a slap on the wrist.
Well, when she gets released in Gen Pop,
they're gonna have a field day with her.
Gonna get what she deserves.
Because don't think that those other inmates in there don't know about what she done, because all them inmates, them women inmates in there, they got family on the outside. and they probably know what jail or what prison she's going to go to, and they've then let their people on the inside know.
Yeah.
Well, see, like with the dude that did this to Lincoln, they gonna get him too.
Yeah, him being an illegal and
Yep.
you know what all was done and all that before he took her life. Yeah, I don't know. This case here is just. I don't know. I'm waiting for it now that she's wrote a book.
She probably will. Yeah.
She just seems like that she's very money hungry, and you don't think she could write? Well, I mean, she could probably write a book, and it may not make. She's not going to tell what happened.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, she's not going to tell that part. She's never going to tell that.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's going to publish a book that she ain't going to tell what happened.
And I think it's going to be more of how the trial went and how she wasn't done fairly and blah, 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 and she should have got that sentence. I think it's going to be something like that, trying to play the victim in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be anything about what happened that night.
I do worry about her appeal simply because they don't have a cause of death.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have, they actually can't. They can prove that she disposed of his body, but they really can't prove that she did it, and they can't prove the cause of death. And I worry that she has a chance of winning her appeal.
I doubt it.
Well, I hope not.
I mean, I hope not.
And it's very slim chance that they would find the rest of his remains out there in that landfill.
Yeah.
If that's in that one part of him that's in that landfill could be the answer to how he died.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm glad I finally watched it, but
well, they got a conviction on what they had, so that's a good
right. I mean, I'm happy she got life. I'm just not happy with the fact that it's with the possibility of parole.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have two other things that I need to talk about real quick before I get out of here tonight. Real quick, BK stuff. Yeah, this one's going to be real quick. So we know that the defense was wanting to have the DP taken off the table for him. Well, the judge has denied that. And the court doc that came out in that is like 55 pages long.
Yep.
And I'm just not up for reading that much tonight, y'all. So I did, and I got to find my screenshots here because there was two parts of it that I took out that I did a screenshot on. This man is wanting the DP taken off the table because he's worried about how much pain it's going to cause him.
Yeah. And it violates his constitutional rights.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I'm going to say that, okay, this is the first one I need to pull up here. When he goes to trial next year, yeah, only 55 pages, King Scarlet. When he goes to trial next year, and let's say he does get convicted, and then he gets sentenced to the DP, he's not just going to leave from the courtroom and go straight to be put to death. Like there's going to be, he's got appeals that he's going to go through. It's going to be many years of him sitting on death row, and the stuff that he is claiming. Let me pull this up real quick. I don't know if y'all can see that. Maybe. Hopefully it doesn't look blurry for y'all on the screen.
Oh, I can see it, and I'm blind.
Okay, so it doesn't look blurry to y'all whenever I zoom in on it?
Not for me.
Okay, so this was one part of it. Like I said, it's 55 pages long, and there's, different parts that they went through on the motion basically he didn't give an alternative means of execution and all this and that. That was one of the reasons why it was denied. But this one here is the motion to strike the state's notice on grounds of means of execution. So the defendant seeks to strike the state's notice on grounds that the Idaho statutory methods of execution violates the 8th and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution and its Idaho, and I'm probably not going to say this right, y'all, I do apologize, but the corollaries. So currently there are two methods of execution that are prescribed by the Idaho statute, which is the lethal injection and the firing squad. Okay, so the defendant asserts that Idaho currently does not have the ability to murder a person by lethal injection because, we've heard it before that they're not able to get the chemicals and all this and that. But does not mean that by the time his death warrant is signed that they're not going to have the chemicals to do so.
Right.
Okay. And the firing squad is not only currently unavailable, which by the time his warrant is signed, it could be available at that time because there's a whole thing that's got to be constructed for the firing squad to happen.
Mhm.
But not only is it currently unavailable, it is cruel and unusual. To this end, he provides the affidavit of Barbara Wolf, who is an MD, as to the conscious pain and suffering an individual executed by a firing squad will suffer. Okay, who gives a flying fuck if these people feel pain?
Right.
Now, if you were accused of murdering just one person, not let alone 4 people, just one person, you go through your trial in the state without a doubt, 1,000% proves that you were the one who done it. You are convicted and you get the death penalty. Why should anybody in this world care if the firing squad or a lethal injection hurts you?
Exactly. What about the ones that you took out of this world?
Exactly. What about the victims and what they
There was
suffer
their
through?
constitutional rights.
Right. But yeah, it's pain and suffering. I don't give a fuck about his pain and suffering.
Nope.
I really don't. Why would I care about his if he didn't care about the victims?
Exactly.
Okay, but yeah, the pain and suffering an individual executed by a firing squad will suffer. Defendant further argues that it is unconstitutional to allow him to sit on death row without knowing how he will be executed.
How is that unconstitutional?
Too bad.
Who cares? You literally, either way, you're going to die, whether it's lethal injection or the firing squad. Either way, you're going to die. What does it matter which way?
Sit there and think about which way.
Yeah.
I could care less which way.
This
honestly.
is a huge stretch right here.
But my thing is, think about it, because you know what? Sit there and think, because what you did to them 4 students, they didn't have time to think what you were doing to them.
Exactly. Okay, I gotta pull this one up so I can zoom it in. Okay, so this was the very last of it. So the defendant acknowledges that he has not identified an alternative method, but contends that his claim to distinct from the method of execution claims in Bucklew, Bays, and Glossop. He argues that Idaho's chosen methods are unconstitutional because they threaten Idaho citizens with a mean of execution that cannot be carried out without causing undue pain.
Get over it. Suck it up, Buttercup.
However, this is not a distinction that can be drawn. Undue pain is precisely the question that is foregoing method of execution cases address. To strike the method of execution as unduly painful under the 8th Amendment, defendant must come forward with an alternative method. He has not done so, thus foreclosing his claim. So the order is, based on the foregoing analysis, the defendant's death penalty motions are hereby denied.
Yeah. Good.
And there was another part in there, but I don't guess I got that on the screenshot, where he was talking about being scared or something like that. Well, what about the kids when all this was happening?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're fighting for their lives and they're scared. Or Ethan or Xana watching the other one being murdered first, and the same with Maddie and Kaylee,
Yeah.
watching the other one be murdered first. What about them being scared?
Exactly.
No, I don't give a fuck about his feelings, his fear, his pain. I don't care about none of that. If you
Nope.
can prove to me with 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, that this man is the one who killed these 4 kids, he
Mhm.
needs a death penalty, and I don't give a shit about his pain.
Nope. Don't
And
care.
I
how,
doubt the family do either. I mean,
don't care how it's done either.
right,
Just sit there and think about it.
right.
Think
You
about
know,
which way
think
you want to go.
right, because think about how they went,
Exactly.
and the pain and the fear and all that they went through. Now, I do respect the fact that there are people, and I'm not saying it's anybody in here, but if it is, that's fine. I respect that your opinion on it, that don't agree with the death penalty. And like I said, I respect that. And everybody else in here will respect that as well.
Oh,
But me
yeah.
personally, if you can prove to me that they did it, I'm for it.
Yep.
I believe in an eye for an eye. That's, you know, I can understand why some people are against it, because we have had people, you know, who
were sentenced to that that were actually innocent.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what
But
I'm saying. You got to prove to me 1,000% that
Right.
that person is
yeah,
the one who done it.
so like, but that was back before we had so much technology. You
Yep.
know, we've come so far, and so now, you know, I'm pro DP, because I know that, you know, we've come so far, we've advanced so much.
Yep. I'm down for it.
So the odds of an innocent person being executed are just so much lower.
Like it says in the Bible, eye for an eye.
I
Right.
think so, King.
Okay, so yeah, King Scarlet wants to know. She says, just curious if anyone thinks that Ann Taylor is regretting the change of venue.
I do.
I think she is. I really do. Because
She's not.
not play.
She does not. I don't. This judge is just like.
I think
He's very no nonsense. He is very straight to the point, and
Yep.
and like he's not putting up with none of that like Judge did. But honestly,
Yeah.
I think Judge was getting, I don't want to say bored with it, but I think it exhausted him.
I think he was getting fed up with it.
Yeah, I think he got, because just watching him during hearings, he literally was sitting there like he really didn't want to be there.
Yeah. And I think he does regret it. But like I said, the grass ain't always greener on the other side. And this is what
right.
So now you got a judge that doesn't take long to answer and straight to the point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He doesn't take her mess.
Right. And loaded hot, yes. Judge, I don't know if he's already retired or he's going to in the future, but yeah, he is going, either already has or is going to retire. Okay, so Meta Mom says, do y'all think that Judge was so laid back all this time because he knew that he wouldn't be the one trying the case?
I don't know.
I don't think that's what it was. I think that I think that I think he was irritated that the case popped up right when he's getting ready to retire.
Right.
Like it was going to hold up his retirement. I just think his heart wasn't in it.
It just didn't seem like he was, like I said, he just watching him in those hearings and the way, I don't know, it's like he wasn't, like he didn't want to deal with it. It was his job, but he just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I said, I think he got more irritated as time went on.
Right.
Because they kept wanting to push it back. And instead of him, putting his foot down and saying, no, this is how it's going to go.
Right. So, unless something else comes up, the DP is still on the table in this case.
Good. I'm glad.
I knew he would deny it. I like
Yeah,
that.
I'm just ready for the trial to get started. To be honest with you.
Then they wanted something about pushing the trial back, and they told him no, it's going to be in August, like he said.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, he's very. And who else was it? Just said it a second ago. Well, shit. Hold on, let me find it. So Tiff said the judge is very good for the case. He is equally strict with both sides. That's what they needed from the very beginning.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Finally, things are moving
Right.
in a normal fashion.
Right. And he doesn't take forever to give his decision.
No, he thought about it. Like he said, he needed a couple days to go over everything and think about it, and then come back with his decision.
Yep. So I don't know. I'm just ready for the trial. I'm ready for the state to lay out their case and show us everything that we haven't seen.
Yep.
I'm ready for the state to show you all that they have the receipt for him purchasing the knife, so I can say, I told you so.
Yeah, we need to see that,
I
Avery.
just want him to show everything so I can say, I told you so.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want the state to lay out the case, because I think once the state lays out what they have, a lot of rumors that were started in this case, a lot of crazy rumors about a lot of different things, about where it happened, and the bodies were moved, and y'all know what I'm talking about, that all that shit will be shut down.
Yep.
See, I can't go showing stuff, that could get me in trouble, but I can tell you that I put it on let's see. I put it on all 10 of my toes that they have the receipt for him purchasing the knife. And I need my toes because I would walk very funny if I didn't have them.
You wouldn't be able to walk. And like
well,
we're gonna hold you to it then. Avery.
I'd be healing it. I mean, I'd still walk, but it'd be weird.
But like I said, until you can prove to me he's not 100% guilty, like I said, my gut tells me he's guilty.
Yeah.
Betty Joe, get out of the bathroom.
There's some things that I questioned that was in the court documents from the defense, like none of the victims' DNA in the car. So I'm waiting on that part.
I wasn't in the bathroom.
Oh, you were echoing it like you were in a bathroom.
No, I'm in my room.
Really quick, Scarlett, I have a grievance to file with our friendship circle that we have in this group. So
I didn't do it.
It wasn't you. But so here's my grievance, and I would like for this to be logged into the records. So you guys know, like, I have bad luck, and today I'm just sitting in my backyard, just chilling, watching my dogs play, and I'm text messaging with several people that are here in this chat when a tree limb just falls out of the tree, conks me on the head. I nearly died. I tell once I get my composure, get back up off the ground, back into the chair, rubbing my head and everything. And I text and I tell everybody in this friendship circle what just happened to me. And do you know, not one person said, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that happened to me or happened to you." The most I got was, "It could have been worse. A bird could have shit on you."
I'm laughing. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be quiet, but because I didn't know this happened. So
I didn't know that happened.
I think it was you that said, Betty Jo, I'm pretty sure it was you that said it could have been worse. A bird could have shit on me.
No, I did not. No, I think that was Vapor.
Okay.
Oh, I think it was King. Yeah, it was King.
I didn't know a branch hit you. You didn't say a branch hit you.
I did. I said it's windy and a tree branch literally fell out of the tree and hit me in the head.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't read that part.
I completely missed that whole conversation. So
I'm sorry, I didn't read that
So
part.
I would
she
just,
didn't read that part, y'all.
I would just like for my grievance to be, filed and recorded, please.
Well, I'm
And
sorry.
thank you.
Ain't nothing gonna happen, but okay.
Oh my god, y'all are so comical. Okay, so let me get on this last one real quick. Wait, hold on. Okay, no. So there's nothing new in the Suzanne Simpson case. And who was the other one that I looked up before I get on? Oh,
Emma.
Emma. Yeah, there was nothing on Emma Baum. There was nothing new on her either.
You know, they still news, but there's
Sorry.
nothing.
What is it, Betty Jo?
I said they still show it on the news, but there's nothing new.
Yeah.
However, with Emma Baum, I did want to tell you guys that I've been like all in the Facebook Emma Baum group, and so her boyfriend, Antoine, whatever, I can't remember his full name. His ex-girlfriend came forward and with proof that he was extremely violent to her.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah, very, very violent.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sure he probably played a part in it.
I'm sure he has something to do with it. No telling where she's at or what he's done with her or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a shame because a lot of girls can't get out of these types of relationships. They can, but then they can't. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Mm.
I had to check something real quick. Okay, so we know that Susan Smith, she was denied parole.
Yep.
She's another one, y'all, that I have heard that is all about the men and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, she's a ho-ho.
Yeah, she's gotten a lot of trouble multiple times for that.
They said that she was sleeping with a guard.
Yeah. Yeah, she's had, I think, at one point had her privileges taken away, like, and all that because of this. All right, so the next one I want to talk about is Hannah Kobayashi, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Let me get her.
Now this one I don't really know much about.
I can't make up my mind if I want to think that she went missing on purpose or if she, because it kind of seems like, because she's been seen multiple times with an unidentified man, and it kind of seems like maybe she met this dude online or something and was on her way from Maui. She had to get on a connecting flight at LAX in Los Angeles to fly to New York City, and she just never got on the connecting flight, and she just stayed in LA and met up with this person because she has been seen a couple of different times on camera in Los Angeles with this guy.
So who reported her missing?
Oh wow.
Her family did. Because she never showed up to New York City. And I believe she was going to see her grandma or aunt. It was a family member that she was going out there to see.
I did see something about she sent out a disturbing or alarming text message before she disappeared, but I didn't read to see what it was.
And Tonka, not as far as I know, she doesn't. I haven't read anywhere that she has a history of being flighty or anything like that. but the text messages, they said that one thing that threw up a big red flag, and they said, the family did, this may be just a minor detail, but when you text with someone enough, you kind of know how they talk. And when she was sending these weird text messages to them, she wasn't putting emojis in them. And apparently that's like her big thing is when she's, in a text message, there's always a lot of emojis. And she didn't do that. So they think that that's a huge red flag. And apparently she was seen at the Grove in LA, which is like a shopping center type thing. And she was in there and somebody noticed her and that she was missing. And when she heard that customer telling the lady behind the counter, she left. She didn't even stay and get her order. It was food and a drink, I believe. And she didn't even stay. She said she had to go. And apparently in one of the text messages, she said she had safe passage. She was getting on a plane right then. And they still haven't heard from her. Her cell phone last pinged at LAX, but it hasn't been found. She's been seen at the Grove a couple of times. She did post on her Instagram account of was it the Nike Festival? I think that's what they called it. Hold on, I gotta find my notes for her. But she was at the Grove for this festival. I believe it was the Nike Festival or something like that. And she posted a pic of her at this festival to her Instagram, but that's all. Like they haven't had any contact with her since those text messages.
Wow.
Wow.
But on this flyer, it doesn't have like any of her, how tall or anything like that. I don't know if she has tattoos. I haven't been able to find that. I don't know if she has any visible scars. I haven't been able to find that, but I was able to find that she is 5'10" tall. She's 140 pounds. She has brown hair, brown eyes. She's fair skinned with freckles. She's from Maui, Hawaii. Flying from Hawaii, going to New York City. Was supposed to get the connecting flight at LAX, and she never got on the flight.
Did you say she's 5'10", 140 pounds?
Yes.
So she's very thin.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
I used to weigh less than that.
Yeah, but are you 5'10"?
No, I'm 5'7".
That's very, very thin for 5'10".
I just wish they would have put more information on this flyer, because on here it says she was last seen November the 8th getting off her flight at LAX from Maui. She missed her connecting flight to New York City and has not been heard from since November the 10th.
Wow.
And yes, Tonka, it is part of the trafficking hub. Her family has said that this could be an abduction. It could be a trafficking issue. There's a lot of things that could be going on with this. But I was able to get a little bit of a timeline up to November the 21st. So on November the 8th is when she missed the connecting flight. Let's see, she had on a black hoodie, a pair of tie-dyed leggings, and a dark green backpack. She's seen on the security camera leaving the airport. November the 9th, she's seen by employees of a bookstore in the Grove Shopping Center around noon. So the next day around dinner time, 12 o'clock or so, she was seen at the Grove. November the 10th, she was seen on video at the Nike event, not the Nike Festival. But so she was seen at the Nike event at the Grove around 3:40 p.m. She posts a photo from the event to her IG the same day. November the 11th, she goes back to the airport, but doesn't board a flight. Her phone last pinged at LAX, but has not been found. She sends a text to her mom saying that she's scared and she's been scammed. So that's a different text from, I'm boarding a plane now. I've got safe passage. Something about the Matrix was in there or something. I forgot what all it said. And it may be, hold on, let me get this off my screen.
That's crazy.
Yeah, okay, so here it is right here. Hold on.
So that's the alarming text, is that she was scared and...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, so see, it says right here, she was last heard from November the 11th after she had missed a connecting flight from Maui to New York City at Los Angeles International Airport days earlier on November the 8th. Lori, which is her aunt, previously told USA Today that the family was alarmed when they received texts from Kobayashi that were out of character. The aunt had elaborated in an interview Tuesday night that odd phrases and lack of emojis in the messages set off the alarm. None of them had a single emoji. I know that may sound like a small detail, but to us, that's huge. Like I said, when you're texting somebody, you know if it's them or not just by the way they're typing.
True.
You know. So even though that she was in contact with us, she wasn't in contact with us in her right mind. Screenshots shared with USA Today show Kobayashi sending messages on November the 11th that read, "On my way to the airport, I have a safe passage and Matrix style. I'm safe. For the good of all, I will keep you posted." And this is in addition to the one that she's scared she's been scammed. The family is organizing a volunteer canvas this week in the area near where Kobayashi was last seen. Pigeon, which is the aunt, called the efforts by volunteers in Los Angeles to find Kobayashi super heartwarming. Los Angeles is coming out of the woodwork to help us. She might have been lost in LA, but LA is trying to find her. And I know that the night of the Lakers game, the family were at that arena handing out flowers to people that was going to the game. So let's see, which one did I stop off at? Okay, so November the 11th, she returns back to LAX but doesn't get on the flight. November the 11th, also cameras at Pico Metro in downtown at 10 p.m. She's seen with an unidentified person. And loaded high, I don't know what Matrix style. I don't know if maybe that was some people have code words when they're talking to let them know something's up, but I'm okay. Or if it's she wasn't in her right state of mind. I don't.
Did she?
She's 30. Is she 32? No, 31.
31.
Yeah. November the 12th, the family files the missing person report with LAPD. The 19th, the family releases a statement that they have camera footage of her leaving the airport on November the 11th. So that's when she returned to LAX and then doesn't get on the plane and all that. November the 20th, new footage shows her with the unidentified person downtown on November the 11th, which would have been at the Pico Metro in downtown. And then yesterday on the 21st, they hold a rally to pass out flowers before the Lakers game at the Crypto.com arena near the station where she was last spotted on camera. Now, there has been a couple of people that's been on social media that said that they went to, I want to say the Raiders. Is the Raiders in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Okay, I want to say the Raiders game. That's what they said. That they were on.
They also have the.
They have the what?
The Los Angeles Rams.
Okay, it wasn't the Rams. I think it was the Raiders. I should have got a screenshot, but I didn't. But anyway, these people were on their way to a game, and they were on the same bus as her. Okay, Vapor says Rams and Chargers. Okay, it wasn't either one of those.
It was the Raiders are in Los Angeles too.
I don't know. I don't watch football.
Oh.
But anyway, either way, these two people were on their way to a game, and she was on the same bus with them, and she was with a guy, and they, I guess at that time, didn't know that she was missing or whatever, and ended up talking to her and the guy, and they were basically talking about the traffic in Los Angeles and all this and that. And then once they found out that she was missing, they posted it on social media and got in touch with the police. And then every time she's been seen and people has realized that it's her, they're contacting the police. But the police are saying now if you see her, just please right then contact us so they can try to get to her quicker. Because it sounds like this guy that she's with
Mm-hmm.
is not a good person.
How old is she?
31.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say like if she has children or anything.
Not that I have seen. It hasn't said anything like that. Like I said, it don't even tell if she has tattoos, if she has any visible scars that you can look for if you think you come across her. Nothing like that. And it, on the flyer, it doesn't even have how tall she is, hair color, nothing like that. Let me get the flyer pulled back into it. And like I said, I don't watch football, so I don't know what.
Well, I don't
teams are.
watch all the other teams. I only watch my team. Sorry.
Okay, let me get this back here. All right, so this is her picture. I'm pretty sure there's other flyers out there.
They could have picked a better picture for that flyer because
that's like the main one though. When she first went missing, this is the one that came out.
Yeah, but it's not because her hair is covered and everything.
Right.
She's so covered, and it's really not very clear. The other photo you were just showing, that would have been the one I would have used.
This one here. Hold on, let me get it pulled up. This one.
Yeah, something similar to that would have been better.
Right. And see, this one looks like she has a nose ring.
Yeah.
But they didn't say anything about any piercings. None of that. Not that I have seen anyway. So, I mean, that's the only bad thing about cases like this. And I understand that whenever a family reports a loved one missing, at that time they may not think about the tattoos and the scars and the piercings and all that. But that's like just as important as the color of their hair and their eyes and how tall they are and all that.
Yeah.
Because that's like something that is going to catch your eye. Or if you're just standing by somebody who you think is this person that's missing, you can kind of look and see if they've got this tattoo or this scar or, this piercing or whatever without saying, oh my God, you're this person who's missing, and scare them off if they don't want to be found.
Yeah, those are important details.
Right. So I'm going to try to get more information because the whole week that I was at my aunt's house, all I had with me was my phone. And I didn't even bring a notebook or anything with me to try to keep up with stuff. I'm going to try to get a laptop that I can bring out there with me because more than likely I'm going to have to start staying more with her. But I need a way to still do lives while I'm out there. So I'm going to try to get a laptop that I can do lives while I'm there. And keep up with everything. So,
I wanted to tell you because I don't know if you've seen it or not because I think it was the day of your aunt's surgery. But I had posted in Discord about whatever the name of the insurance company is, State Farm or something, is selling Kylie Rodney's SUV.
Seriously?
And yes, and they have 12 photos of it, and the interior, so like on the seat, all the fabric has been removed. There's just padding. It's really, really weird because I thought if a car goes in water like that, it hydrolocks and won't run, so, but yeah, they're selling her vehicle.
Oh,
so that would mean if the insurance company is selling it, then that means the family just stopped making payments. Or, well, I don't know. What would that mean?
They took possession of it. They probably.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy that they're selling it? And then Can
Yeah,
you
that
imagine like somebody buying that, not knowing that somebody passed away inside of that vehicle?
yeah.
A little bit weird, but yeah.
But I mean, look at the weirdness that was in that case, though.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole left side of it is all dented and smashed in, the driver's side. So I don't know if that's because it would have flipped in the water, right? Or would
Yeah,
it have hit the ground and then flipped? I don't know.
it would have. Okay, hold on. Let me
Like, I don't
remember.
understand why it would have flipped sideways.
It didn't flip sideways. It flipped. It
It's
went when
up
it
on.
hit the water. The motor went down and it flipped. Basically, if I remember correctly, ass end over.
That's
Yeah.
what I was.
It's
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
roof. It was flat on its roof.
yeah.
And so I don't understand why the whole driver's side is all
Well,
dented in.
okay. So whenever before they could get it out of the water, they had to flip it
Oh,
on its tires while it was still underwater.
Yeah.
oh, maybe
But
that's how.
I'm trying to remember though because I streamed it that night as they were pulling it out of the water, and I'm trying to remember though. I don't think the driver's side was smashed. I don't think any of it was smashed yet.
No.
Well, it's
It,
smashed in the
it didn't look.
photos.
It didn't look like any of it except for the window. I think.
Yeah, I think the window was busted out, and then that was it. I don't think the sides of it were, but I mean, who knows what
But who knows
always
what
happens
happened
to
after
it.
that? You know.
Right.
Yeah, Plunder did a video on it, and even she was saying, like, how did the driver's side get all smashed in like that? Because I don't even think flipping it would cause that kind of damage to
No.
the driver's side.
After
Right.
Maybe some dents, but not smashed in like that.
Yeah,
I
it could
don't.
have after the fact.
Very, very weird.
But yeah, the insurance company they pay them. They paid it all. What it was is it was turned over to the insurance company from the family. They paid the claim. They gave the family the money. Insurance company probably paid the car place off,
Hmm.
and then what they do is they auction them. They auction them off.
Hold on, y'all. I'm sending a message
So
to
that's
somebody.
probably what they're doing. They're probably gonna have an
Yeah,
auction.
it's just wild though that I mean, are they gonna just claim to to let people know that somebody died in that vehicle?
I don't know what they do when they auction.
That's just so weird to me.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they do when they auction them off.
Just the fact that they're getting rid of it.
Well, see, like I had a I had an Explorer. It was the Eddie Bauer edition, and it caught fire.
Hmm.
So what I did, what the insurance company did, is they paid me, and they took it, and then they just either destroyed it because it was destroyed by a fire anyway. So they either just destroyed it or they fixed it and sold it, like auctioning off.
Well, like my SUV after my car accident, it went to a place called Copart to be sold for like parts,
Yeah, they do that too.
but not the whole vehicle. I don't know.
No, well
Strange.
they'll take the whole vehicle, but what they'll do is they'll salvage the parts and sell them.
Right. Hey,
Yeah.
y'all. I'll be right back. I got to mute for just a second, but y'all go ahead with y'all's conversation.
So that's
Okay.
what they'll do. They'll take the whole vehicle, but they'll salvage the parts,
Mhm.
sell them, and that's probably what they did with mine. Like because it was destroyed by a fire on the
Mhm.
they probably, whatever parts they could get off of it, that's probably what they did.
It's weird though that they're just selling her whole vehicle. Like I'm pretty sure the engine is hydrolocked.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it is too. So what they'll probably do is auction it off as a parts car.
That's still crazy. The fact that it's
Like the tires,
sold.
doors.
Mm.
All right, y'all. I'm going to have to get off of here for the night.
Yep, you've been
Okay,
here.
bye.
I'm literally. Wait, what? I missed that. What'd you say?
She said, "Okay,
I said,
bye."
okay, bye.
No, I honestly, I would stay on here longer, y'all. I'm exhausted from
Let's get some rest.
I mean, I was literally when I was at my aunt's. She goes to bed early, but she would go to bed and then she would get up. So when she got up, I had to get up. And she's up and down all night because she's very uncomfortable. She's hurting. She can't eat hardly anything. And she's so used to getting up during the night a couple of different times, like eating chips and dip and, her little cakes or her ice cream or whatever. And she couldn't do none of that. And she's basically just miserable. And so I would have to get up with her. And then she'd go lay it back down for about an hour or so and then get right back up. So it was kind of like every time she got up, I was up. And I would be in bed by 9 o'clock. And by 10:30, I was right back up.
Well, if you're anything like me, I don't sleep good if I'm not in my own bed. So, like, that alone would have me tired.
Yeah, I mean, the bed that I was in, I've slept in it 1,000 times. It's super comfortable. Now, I forgot about it being 10 foot tall and fell out of it the first night. Because I literally, I'm not lying, y'all. The bed is so tall, I have to crawl into it.
Oh, my bed is.
And I got up that night because I heard her in her room coughing. And so I was trying to hurry up and go check on her. And just completely, I don't know why the fuck it slipped my mind that I'm 10 foot up in the air. And hit the floor. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
After that, I had to start climbing out of the bed. But yeah, it was just, like I said, Sunday we had the birthday party. Monday, we were just basically trying to get everything ready. And then literally at Tuesday morning, we're up at 4 o'clock to get her up there in time. And so we had to drive an hour and a half to get her there.
Wow.
And then the whole damn procedure ended up causing a tear in her esophagus.
Oh,
no. Yeah, so she was miserable.
I'd be miserable too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be cussing everybody.
Like when you're 4 foot, I'm 5'7". I am not no 4'2".
4'2".
Who said that?
A vapor. He said when you're 4'2", that's a long fall. I haven't been 4'2" since I was like 8.
Oh my God, vapor.
He's always got jokes.
Yeah.
Of course.
But literally, I've never seen this lies. I've never seen a bed this tall, y'all. Her bed is past my waist. That's how tall her beds are. Why she got all these tall ass beds, I don't know, but
oh yeah, that's higher than mine. Mine isn't. Mine is to my waist.
Yeah, hers is above my waist, and she's shorter than I am, and she has to have a stool to get up into her bed.
Mine is to my knees.
That's what I'm talking about. You just sit down in it and get. Well, I'm saying, I'm just like, why the? Thank God she's got one of those. The board that goes across the side of it at the bottom that holds your mattresses. Thank God she's got one down there that I can climb up in the bed with.
Mine's at my knees, so.
That's what I like. Just hop up in that bitch and go straight to bed.
Yeah, I don't want no high bed.
And the fact that she lives on a main ass highway, and I'm not used to all these cars going by.
Oh yeah.
All night.
That would be weird because it's like real quiet where I'm at. If I moved back into the city, that'd be really weird.
Yeah, I love it where I'm at. There's peace and quiet. I don't hear nothing. There's no traffic. Nothing.
See, we hear a train at 2 a.m, at 4 a.m, at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, God, don't these people ever sleep?
Right. Now, see, we can hear the train here, but it's about a mile and a half through the woods, but you can still hear it. But it's, out there, it's literally nonstop because it's a main road, nonstop all night long. Cars, trucks, this damn big truck, the people that live across the road from her, I guess is his family. Every time he passed their house, he would honk the horn. And he passed the house starting at about 5:30 in the morning, all day long. You hear this fucking horn go off. I'm like, dude. So I'm exhausted.
I'd be disconnecting his horn.
I mean, it's just, but that damn early in the morning?
Yeah.
Only people are still trying to sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I know. Well, I'll hop down so you can say your goodbyes.
Alrighty.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, thank y'all both for coming up. It was a good
Okay.
conversation. I'm still irritated as fuck.
Yep.
With Leilani.
Me too.
Yes.
Well, good night, y'all.
Just remember, I'll let you go up first.
She let you.
And then got knocked off.
I sent a thing and the private chat was like, where the fuck did Betty Joe go? And then I seen you posted in the chat. I got knocked off.
Ha ha ha. That's what you get for fibbing on me and saying you let me up first.
I watched you go up there and then I hit the.
You're such a turd.
I figured I'd let you go first one time.
Aw.
I'm gonna get you. Watch. Tomorrow night if she goes live, I'll be first.
Scott, no, because I just got home like about 30 minutes before I went live, I hadn't had a chance to open them, but I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
Oh, don't forget to post Veronica Butler's thing in the Discord. Pretty please.
Okay, remind me.
I am reminding you.
No, remind me in like 10 minutes because I'm gonna forget as soon as I hit the end stream live. I can tell you. All right. Well, thank y'all for coming up. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Tonka, have a good night. Princess Lena, you are very welcome. Let's see who else. Somebody else, I thought. Well, I guess not. I guess I got them all. All right, y'all. Well, I'm about to get off of here. Thank you all so much for coming and hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully they'll get some more information on Hannah. And I did see somebody say that her ex-boyfriend was on the flight with her. I have not seen that. So I'm going to have to look more into it. I'm going to have to go through the whole Facebook group things and all that too. So hold on, let me do this real quick. Tiff, have a good night. And I do need to get some more information on Susan Smith's parole hearing because I haven't got to read up on that one either. I had a note and just completely forgot about it. Sweet Melissa, you are very welcome. And Sweet Melissa, let me check real quick while you're still on here. Let's see, I gotta go over here. Because I did approve your thing, so now you should be able to go into all of the channels on Discord. But if you can't, send me a message on there, and I'll see what I can do. And I don't know if, what's the other one? Is it Lori that was saying? Okay, yeah, Lori, if you're still in here, I sent you the link on Messenger, to a message on there. Okay. And Avery, if you're still in here, check your DM too, please. I think that's everybody. Okay, I was in when you. Okay. All right. All right, y'all. I'm about to get out of here. I love you all. Thank you all so much for coming and hanging out with us. I will be back tomorrow night. And I will talk to you all later.